Vol 2, Chapter 2-1, The Development of Civilization, Periodic Advances. Following the advice of Qi Jianjun, a distinguished member of the Scientific Research Cabinet, Tang Xiao decided to temporarily halt the research and development of large warships. This strategic pivot redirected the scientific community's focus towards enhancing the quality of life for the citizens of the Fourth Civilization. At this juncture, the military strategy of the Fourth Civilization was to rely on Cobalt alloy-class heavy frigates as the backbone of its fleet, with Revenge-class light destroyers serving as the core. Additionally, the auxiliary Pulsar-class and Hammer-class light frigates would form the primary offensive group. A significant development was the refitting of a captured Predator-class heavy supply ship into an aircraft carrier, marking the Fourth Civilization's inaugural foray into this domain. This 800-meter behemoth, destined to carry 100 aircraft, was poised to become the flagship of the Fourth Civilization's fleet, necessitating an expansion of the Navy to 20,000 personnel to staff the burgeoning armada. Training for these recruits was intensively underway in Winter City. With the increasing number of individuals awakening aboard the Glory Mothership, many hibernation bins were vacated, prompting plans for its extensive retrofitting. Qi Jianjun anticipated that these modifications would substantially enhance the mothership's combat capabilities, transforming it from a mere defensive asset to a formidable force in battle. This upgrade was deemed crucial for ensuring planetary security. Tang Xiao decided to defer the development and production of all large warships for 5 years, capitalizing on the relative peace expected during this period. The first half of this time frame was under the protective watch of Tang Xiao's mentor, Darth Plagueis. The subsequent years, coinciding with the reorganization of the Galactic Republic following the Battle of Naboo, promised a lull in hostilities, offering a prime opportunity for strength development. A military academy was established in Winter City to refine military strategy. It conducted comprehensive analyses of past battles involving the Fourth Civilization, leading to the proposal of a flexible formation doctrine. This new strategy emphasized the need for adaptable combat formations tailored to specific situations, requiring advanced coordination technologies. However, the scarcity of relevant battle data posed a challenge, prompting Tang Xiao to seek classified documents from the ancient conflict between the Sith Empire and the Galactic Republic for further study. In parallel, a significant overhaul of Dawn City's City Hall was initiated, involving the demolition and redevelopment of a 5-kilometer radius around the building. The revamped City Hall was set to become the planetary capital, centralizing administrative functions to enhance governance and efficiency. This effort included the development of a managerial artificial intelligence by the Computer Engineering Department to streamline administrative processes. Rumors suggested that this AI might even integrate with the Glory Mothership's mainframe. Lastly, the Fourth Civilization planned to construct a planetary grid to revolutionize its energy infrastructure. The current reliance on underground cables for power transmission was deemed outdated, prompting a shift towards more advanced and efficient methods. In the wake of a groundbreaking advancement in wireless power transmission technology, a plan has been set in motion to establish a microwave power transmission base station with Dawn City at its heart. This initiative aims to extend the power network across the entire planet. To satisfy the immense energy requirements, the Fourth Civilization is set to construct a colossal cold nuclear fusion reactor in the melting zone, utilizing nickel and hydrogen as primary raw materials. The initial phase of the project boasts an installed capacity of 50 billion kilowatts, with plans for gradual expansion. On the social and cultural front, Tang Xiao has mandated the construction of cultural squares in every city. These squares will feature reliefs and statues of pioneers, showcasing the history of the Fourth Civilization. A lie, when repeated enough times, becomes perceived as truth. The Fourth Civilization, having endured the trials of 3 natural disasters and the monumental task of escaping and rebuilding, has etched its epic saga deep into the collective consciousness of its people. Under the leadership of Norris Berry and other guardians of history, the narrative of the Fourth Civilization has been meticulously crafted and integrated into educational curriculums. This rich history serves to strengthen the unity and resolve of the Fourth Civilization's populace, rallying them towards a singular, ambitious objective, to reclaim their past glory and dominion over the entire galaxy. Though not explicitly mentioned in historical records, this aspiration is universally understood and deeply ingrained in the hearts of the Fourth Civilization's members. The focus on biotechnology marks another significant area of advancement. The Department of Bioengineering is spearheading efforts to map the complete human genome and optimize genetic inheritance. This initiative promises to eradicate genetic diseases and progressively enhance human fitness across generations. Furthermore, it opens the door to genetic-level medical treatments, potentially increasing human lifespan and birth rates, and even reducing the human growth cycle to possibly 10 years. However, such advancements are anticipated to unfold over many generations. Theoretical research constitutes the final pillar of the Fourth Civilization's scientific endeavor. Dawn City and the Glory Mothership have become hubs for theoretical science research, encompassing fields such as theoretical physics and mathematics. While these studies may not yield immediate products, they equip scientists with a profound understanding of the universe, paving the way for the development of advanced technologies. The rapid progress achieved by the Fourth Civilization in less than 2 years is astonishing, largely facilitated by access to the Mothership's database, which provides essential technological data for swift research and development. However, the journey from theory to application is complex and demands a deep comprehension of the underlying principles. It's not as simple as selecting an option in a game. It involves a comprehensive grasp of related scientific and technological disciplines, such as materials science, which is crucial for manufacturing sophisticated instruments and advanced spacecraft. The interplay between theory and practice is a fundamental aspect of technological advancement, underscoring the intricate path from discovery to implementation. Vol 2, Chapter 202, Huge Bait, Part 1. Tang Xiao found himself in the office of his secret chief financial advisor, Simed Tonis. Simed, accustomed to the office's setup, remotely controlled the T-850 robot assigned to him for various business operations. He had even named the robot Mr. K, a codename he used during his secret operations in the past. Currently, Simed was the brain behind all cooperation between the Fourth Group and the Damask Holding Group. His deputy, the master business negotiator Gross Shelbia, worked seamlessly with him, ensuring their collaboration was highly effective. The Fourth Group's business ventures had expanded significantly, not only with the Damask Holding Group, but also with the Trade Union and the Interstellar Banking Association, thanks to the facilitation by Black J. Unlike the usual unequal contracts favored by corporate giants, these were mutually beneficial agreements. Through the Trade Alliance, the Fourth Group began exporting specialty products like tobacco and coffee beans, undertook OEM work for the Trade Alliance, and imported a significant number of B-1 robots. They also collaborated on producing Cobalt-class heavy frigates and Vengeance-class light destroyers. Following the impressive performance of these ships and the Ghost Fighter during the Battle of Malistar Fjord, the Enterprise Alliance sought a production partnership with the Fourth Group. This new cooperation model involved the Trade and Enterprise Alliances assisting the Fourth Group in establishing a production line on a concealed third-party planet. The Fourth Group would then sell the produced spacecraft at a very low price, creating a win-win situation for all parties involved. However, Tang Xiao's visit to Simed was to discuss a matter of utmost importance. Mr. Tang Xiao, our plan is progressing smoothly. Our cooperation with the Damask Holding Group has deepened significantly, Simed reported, elegantly sipping a glass of red wine. How deep? Tang Xiao inquired. The Fourth Group holds the highest SSS level among the venture capital ratings within the Damask Holding Group. Through the United Mining Group, our annual capital flow with them is around 100 million credits, Simed explained. And the cooperation model I proposed to Black G is particularly advantageous to him personally. That benefits him personally, correct? Tang Xiao asked, a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. Exactly. It's to his personal advantage, which should make him quite pleased and see it as a reward for our loyalty, Simed confirmed. That's true. Plus, with my recent actions, Black G has indeed come to trust me more, Tang Xiao reflected. But we must remember, if we are to advance our plan further, you must ensure its success. Otherwise, we risk becoming his vassals permanently, Simed cautioned seriously. Tang Xiao nodded in understanding. He was aware of the gravity of Simed's words. For their plan to succeed, Black G had to die, and his death had to be timely. Failure to achieve this would trap them in a dire situation. Tang Xiao himself risked falling into the dark side of the Force, becoming consumed by madness. However, Tang Xiao had to tread carefully. The matter of Black Gi's death was intricately linked to the galaxy's most notorious conspirator, Darth Sidious. Tang Xiao's strategy involved cautiously manipulating the relationship between Darth Sidious and Darth Plagueis. With Sidious almost certain to eliminate Plagueis, Tang Xiao's role was to ensure that this pivotal event unfolded as planned. The explosion of a nuclear bomb on the planet Sojourn was a failed attempt by Sidious to assert control. Aware of the risks, Tang Xiao knew he had to take matters into his own hands. Within 3 years, Black Gate Damask II will meet his end. That's a promise, Tang Xiao declared with a determined tone. We'll need substantial bait, Simid suggested thoughtfully. How substantial are we talking? Tang Xiao inquired, eager to understand the scale of their plan. Simid stood, holding up 2 fingers to emphasize his point. Let me explain, Mr. Tang Xiao, the business model of Damask Holdings Group. It's an investment company that specializes in acquiring stakes in promising industries and companies at relatively low prices before they've fully developed. By providing financial support, the group capitalizes on the growth of these emerging sectors, converting it into substantial capital gains, he explained, his grip tightening as he delved deeper into the subject. However, Black G Damask II employs more complex strategies, involving some morally gray areas. Thanks to his connections within the Interstellar Banking Association, he effectively controls the loan business for many planets in the Ring Star region. You can only imagine the extent of his wealth. Simid trailed off, leaving room for contemplation. It's not hard to imagine. I've had more than one encounter with Hege's wealth and influence, Tang Xiao acknowledged, nodding in understanding. But his wealth is dispersed. Simon interjected, his hand moving in a sweeping gesture. To give you an idea, Damask Holding Group has stakes in over 18,000 companies. This illustrates just how widely Black G has spread his business interests. Why would he disperse his assets like that? Tang Xiao asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. Such behavior essentially leeches off the Interstellar Banking Association, Simon explained with a hint of disdain. Under the guise of the association, he diverts business that should belong to it, making it appear as though these are his personal connections. Imagine, if the Interstellar Banking Association were to vanish overnight, how many would continue to support Black G? Tang Xiao nodded, a light of understanding in his eyes. So, your plan is to force Black G to consolidate his scattered wealth and power? Exactly. A large-scale asset reorganization is our only chance to infiltrate the core operations of Damask Holding Group. 3 years is not a long time, and to take over such a significant entity, we'll need to employ extraordinary tactics, Simed explained. A smile crept onto Tang Xiao's face as he produced a memory chip. Then, tell me, is this bait enticing enough? Simed examined the contents of the chip, and his expression shifted dramatically, signaling the gravity of their impending plan. Vol 2, Chapter 203, Huge Bait, Part 2. Tang Xiao had been ready with his plan, and even without Simed's prompting, he was intent on involving Darth Plagueis. Now, with Simed's ambition to strike a significant blow to the Damask Holding Group, Tang Xiao decided it was the perfect time to reveal his ace. Upon seeing the miniature holographic projection and the basic data stored in the memory chip, Simed Tonas's face drained of color, and he found himself speechless, sinking into the sofa, unable to utter a word for a long while. This should significantly weaken the power of the Damask Holding Group, don't you think? Tang Xiao said, a sly smile playing on his lips. This is... Simed stammered, pointing at the holographic projection that displayed a slender spaceship. The ship's design was minimalist, essentially a streamlined monolith without unnecessary components. However, what terrified Simed was not its design, but its sheer size. The spacecraft measured 14,100 meters in length. A warship of this magnitude was unheard of, especially considering that even 12 years later, during the outbreak of the Clone Wars, a 5,300-meter-long battlecruiser had been enough to shake the foundations of the entire Galactic Republic. Yet, here was a ship nearly 3 times its size, introduced in an era of peace that had lasted over a millennium, where warships of such scale were relegated to the realm of science fiction. While the Glory Mothership, standing at a height of 41,370 meters, was larger, it was classified as a civilian ship lacking the capability for hyperspace travel. It had gained fame across the galaxy, but many still considered it akin to a fragile space station, which seemed more plausible given the existence of numerous shipbuilding stations operated by the Lundily Interstellar Engineering Company that spanned 10 to 20 kilometers. But this was no space station. It was a fully operational battleship capable of hyperspace travel. What shocked Samedi even more was the battleship's extreme design. The entire structure was essentially a colossal cannon. Yes, the 14,100-meter length of the ship was not just for show. It was effectively a gigantic gun barrel powered by several sets of engines. The audacity of such a design left Semed reeling. Who in their right mind would conceive such a ludicrous warship? He wondered, feeling his heart skip a beat. Tang Xiao couldn't help but laugh at Semede's reaction. Exactly, the Ragnarov-class Titan battleship. This is the bait we're offering to King Hago Damask II. But this battleship, it's madness, Semed exclaimed. Tang Xiao's laughter grew louder, his excitement palpable. The might of a ship's cannons and the strength of its steel are the ultimate arbiters of justice. True power lies within the range of these cannons, and a real man wields a cannon based on its axis. He gestured dramatically, spreading his fingers wide, his laughter reaching a frenzied pitch. And consider this data. The caliber of this super electromagnetic gun is an astonishing 500 meters. Samed's face blanched once more as Tang Xiao delivered the final detail with a maniacal laugh. A 500-meter caliber for a 14,100-meter-long super electromagnetic cannon was beyond comprehension. Even the Hammerhead-class cruiser, which had previously been a thorn in Tang Xiao's side, would seem insignificant within the barrel of the Ragnarov-class Titan, unable to even graze its sides. The sheer scale of the ammunition this cannon could fire, capable of launching metal asteroids, left Semed gasping for air. After several deep breaths to regain his composure, he voiced his concern to Tang Xiao. Hego is a businessman. This super battleship doesn't seem like it would compel him to make such a drastic decision. Tang Xiao's response was laced with confidence. Don't worry, he will undoubtedly be compelled to construct this battleship. He knew that Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious were scheming to ignite a war and topple the Galactic Republic. At this juncture, they were fervently amassing their own forces. Tang Xiao was convinced that the allure of the Ragnarov-class Titan battleship would be irresistible to them, playing perfectly into their grand designs. The battlecruiser Fang Fang, renowned for its exploits in the early days of the Clone Wars, was now embarking on a new venture. The arrival of a Titan battleship's design plans was a tantalizing prospect that would undoubtedly ignite fervor within the ranks of Hago Damask II. With such a prize in hand, it was inevitable that Damask Holding Group would mobilize its considerable resources, potentially establishing one or more engineering firms dedicated to this monumental project. Indeed, it was Damask Holding Group, not the Interstellar Banking Association or the trade union, that would take on this endeavor. Tang Xiao was well aware of this, especially since Darth Plagueis harbored suspicions following a recent assassination attempt. Among those aware of his presence on Sojourn at the time were Jabba the Hutt and Darth Sidious. The reason Tang Xiao had instructed Jabba the Hutt to report to him upon their meeting was laden with implications. Firstly, it raised the question of why Jabba would feel compelled to report to Hago. Given that loyalty was not guaranteed, this move suggested an underlying motive. Secondly, Tang Xiao's foreknowledge of Jabba's report hinted at a deeper strategy. Hago Damask II, realizing the lack of connection between Tang Xiao and Jabba, was left to ponder the true intent behind Tang Xiao's words. This planted a seed of doubt, making Hago wary of trusting anyone. With the Ragnarov-class Titan battleship's design blueprint in hand, Hago had no choice but to rely solely on Damask Holding Group, an entity under his complete control. However, Tang Xiao understood that despite having a mature blueprint, the project faced significant hurdles. Bridging the technological gap between the Star Wars universe and that of the original sin of a solar empire was just the beginning. The construction of a massive space dock, recruitment of engineers and technicians, formation of engineering teams, and the establishment of management companies were all critical steps. Moreover, the project would require a vast amount of raw materials, potentially depleting an asteroid. The realization that the official construction and operational readiness of the Ragnarov-class Titan battleship would take at least a decade underscored the long-term nature of this endeavor. By that time, Darth Plagueis would be long gone, making the battleship effectively Tang Xiao's asset. This was akin to using someone else's resources to achieve one's own ends, a strategic gamble with full knowledge of the opponent's hand. Tang Xiao's concern was not about the gamble itself, but about executing it with such finesse that it ensured his victory. Semid, understanding the gravity of Tang Xiao's plan, looked into his eyes and nodded solemnly. "I understand. Let's proceed with the plan." Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Ragnarov Titan. Vol 2, Chapter 204, Counterattack. As Tang Xiao and Semid were deep in their scheming, the fourth group's counterattack against the Black Sun had already commenced. In the bustling smuggler's moon, Nishada, chaos erupted within a large bar. Grenades and flash bombs detonated, sending shockwaves through the establishment. The once lively atmosphere, filled with dancing and laughter, turned into a scene of horror. Patrons caught off guard suffered injuries or worse. Amidst the twisted wreckage on the stage lay the lifeless bodies of two Twi'lek dancers. Those attempting to flee were met with a daunting sight at the door. Hundreds of individuals clad in uniform black suits, brandishing an array of weapons, blocking any escape. This sight sent them scrambling back in terror. A group of more than a dozen menacing outlaws emerged from the bar, blaster guns in hand, firing wildly into the night. Their adversaries, the ones in black suits, were no less formidable. Armed with an arsenal ranging from blasters to Type 21 assault rifles, and even M8 Avenger pulse rifles and M23 katana shotguns, their firepower was overwhelming. They blasted through the bar's outer wall, and once their initial barrage had suppressed any resistance, they stormed in through the breached wall. As the gunfight raged on inside, a luxurious hovercar was parked nearby, guarded by several imposing figures in black suits. Among them, a man stood out. With short hair, glasses, and a cold yet handsome demeanor, Niang Xiao leaned casually against the car. Dressed in a simple white shirt with sleeves rolled up, he lit a cigarette from a pack of Hongta Mountain, a brand that seemed oddly out of place in this setting. He took a moment to relax, seemingly indifferent to the chaos unfolding behind him. His gaze, filled with disdain, swept over the diverse crowd of onlookers from various races, all armed yet seemingly harmless in his eyes. After finishing his cigarette, as the sounds of gunfire began to dwindle, Ni Yongxiao discarded the butt and entered the hovercar. His entourage followed suit without a word, and they drove off, leaving the scene behind. On the planet Rylos, a hidden spice processing facility operated by Black Sun Industry was suddenly overrun. Dozens of hoverbikes descended upon the factory, and heavily armed assailants launched an assault without warning. The workers, caught completely off guard, were gunned down mercilessly. The attackers then proceeded to loot the facility, taking both finished and semi-finished spice products. Anything left behind was scattered carelessly. The surviving workers were rounded up, thrown into the spice fields, and set ablaze, their screams echoing into the night. On Coruscant, 34 floors underground, a tragic incident unfolded. An official from the Ministry of Trade of the Galactic Republic, stepping out for dinner with his mistress, was abruptly assassinated. A man in black, blending into the crowd, fired a silenced pistol, striking the official in the head. As the official collapsed, his mistress screamed, and chaos ensued. The assassin vanished into the ensuing pandemonium. The following day, it was revealed through an anonymous tip to the Coruscant Intelligence Department that the official had been colluding with the Black Sun in a massive smuggling operation. On the planet Bees, within the opulent confines of a luxury nightclub, the counterattack against the Black Sun continued to unfold. A squad of armed assailants burst into the nightclub with lethal precision, neutralizing any security personnel who dared to obstruct their path. They stormed into a lavish private room, where they found several high-ranking executives of the Black Sun Syndicate indulging in a feast. Without hesitation, the intruders forced the executives' heads down onto their dinner plates and executed them with shots to the back of the head. In the vast expanse of outer space near planet Felucia, a convoy of merchant ships was in full flight, frantically trying to escape. Their escort ships valiantly attempted to fend off the attackers, but to no avail. 3 Vengeance-class light destroyers closed in at breakneck speed, unleashing a barrage of firepower. The onslaught was devastating, quickly annihilating one of the escort ships. Furthermore, the destroyers deployed a squadron of 12 ghost fighters, which tore through the merchant fleet with ruthless efficiency, reminiscent of wolves descending upon a flock. After 10 minutes of chaos, the once bustling airspace was left with nothing but the silent testimony of destruction, countless fragments of spaceships, and the twisted remains of their crews. Among the debris, a piece bore the unmistakable mark of the Black Sun. On planet Umbara, in a clandestine meeting place, leaders of the Black Sun gathered to address the recent relentless attacks on their operations. "This cannot continue. We must inform Sir Alexis Garin. It's time to retaliate," one exclaimed. "Indeed. Since when did the Black Sun start to falter like this?" another added. "Have we identified the attackers?" The fourth group, along with opportunistic strikes from the Corporate Alliance and the Trade Federation. "Let's show them what we're made of. I still command 11 ships and over 400 loyal followers." Amidst the heated discussion, one of the human leaders glanced at the signal on his wrist communicator, took a sip from his glass, and excused himself to the restroom. There he activated the communicator, only to be greeted by the terrified faces of his parents and 3 children. Tang Xiao appeared on the projection, casually holding a glass of wine, and said indifferently, "Mr. Dolan, do what you must. It will save us all some time." The device crashed to the floor as Dolan, overwhelmed by despair, knelt down, clutching his head and trembling uncontrollably. After a moment, a wild look appeared in his eyes. He didn't end the call, but merely turned off the holographic projection, pocketed the communicator, and returned to the meeting, his body still shaking. It appeared that a decision had been reached in his absence. A Rhodian slammed his hand on the table and announced, "Dolan, have you finished? We've just secured Lord Vigo Antonin's support. He will lead our counterstrike against the fourth group. Prepare your men." "It wasn't my choice. He forced me." "It wasn't my choice." Dolan muttered incoherently. "What are you babbling about?" "Speak up," the Rhodian leader demanded impatiently. "You forced me." Dolan's voice broke through the tension like a dam bursting, and in a sudden move, he drew his blaster and fired at the table of Black Sun leaders. Several were hit by the energy beams and collapsed onto the table. Amidst the chaos, one leader exclaimed, "Are you insane, Dolan?" Dolan continued firing wildly, his actions fueled by desperation and despair. The room erupted into chaos as others drew their weapons and returned fire. Blaster beams crisscrossed the room in a deadly dance. Dolan was hit multiple times and fell to the ground, his final moments accompanied by the sounds of gunfire and anguished screams emanating from the communicator in his pocket. Note: the author initially considered using a specific brand name, but decided against it to avoid potential censorship issues. Vol 2, Chapter 205, Sandstorm. In the outer reaches of the Milky Way, skirting the edge of Hutt space, a black Hammerhead-class cruiser glided silently through the void near Tatooine. Several ghost fighters, having completed their patrol, made their way back to the hangar. On the bridge, Captain Volgograd Kennedy of the cruiser Iron Fang lounged in his seat, legs crossed, humming a tune while nursing a bottle of wine. Despite his initial aversion to conflict, his inability to stomach explosions, flames, and death, these elements had become a daily occurrence in his life. He had hoped that leaving Tatooine for Planet Dawn would offer some respite, but Tang Xiao's orders had plunged him into yet another nightmare, the battle for Planet Malastare. The confrontation at Marathol Fjord saw nearly 1,000 warships from both sides locked in combat, with lasers crisscrossing and beams illuminating the starry expanse. Death and destruction unfolded by the second. Hundreds of warships were obliterated, and thousands of lives were extinguished instantly. Despite his revulsion, Kennedy had steered the Iron Fang through the operation. But Tang Xiao's subsequent command, to return to Tatooine and resume piracy, had been the final straw for Kennedy. He had adopted a nihilistic outlook, indifferent to the battles raging outside, choosing instead to drown his sorrows in alcohol. A once masterful captain had been reduced to a shadow of his former self for various reasons. Even Buka, the Knoll captain, had lost interest in trying to engage him, leaving the daily operations and combat tasks to the adjutant. Kennedy, now resigned to a life of inebriation, found solace in his detachment. Rising unsteadily, Kennedy peered through the porthole at the hangar, where the cruiser's tractor beam was retrieving a cargo crate towed by the Ghost. It seemed the Knoll pilots had enjoyed some success. With the Black Sun organization preoccupied with its own survival and its support for Hut Ghidorah dwindling, only the occasional smuggler dared to venture near Tatooine, often to be intercepted by Jabba's bounty hunters. The results were sporadic, but the promise of Jabba's high bounties kept a core group of hunters in the area, enjoying the relatively safe hunting grounds. Kennedy laughed heartily, his voice tinged with drunkenness. "Ha ha ha! Good job! Well done! Kill a few more! Ha!" His laughter was punctuated by tears that he quickly wiped away before staggering off the bridge to his quarters. Adjutant Wang Bin, clad in body armor, sighed deeply, choosing not to comment as he continued overseeing the cargo's retrieval. A staff officer approached him cautiously. "Sir Wang," about Captain Kennedy's current state. "I've reported the situation to Supreme Command, but there's been no response." "For now, we maintain the status quo," Wang Bin replied, his gaze following Kennedy's retreating figure, filled with concern. "It's not like him to be this way. His aversion to conflict might stem from past trauma, Sci." At that moment, a signal officer reported, "Sir, Santa's spaceship is nearing Tatooine." Wang Bin nodded. "Activate the Trojan program using the special waveband provided by Super Lotus. Determine the location of the bounty hunter spacecraft and calculate a safe route for Santa Claus. Inform Buka that the Knoll pilots are to take off immediately for patrol. Should Santa encounter any trouble, they are to provide support without delay." "Yes, sir," the officer acknowledged, setting into motion the plan to ensure Santa's safe passage through the perilous skies of Tatooine. The Oro-class cargo ship emerged from hyperspace, skillfully navigating the route provided by the cruiser Iron Fang. It deftly avoided the myriad of bounty hunter ships in its path, making its way toward the vast, unending desert of the planet Tatooine. "Ha! Vitali, it's been a month, and you've gotten quite the tan." Yuri Orlov, adorned with sunglasses and a cigar clamped between his teeth, clapped his brother on the shoulder with a vigorous shake. Vitali, indeed, had developed a deep tan, his facial stubble more pronounced, and his physique noticeably more robust. Standing next to his brother, he could easily be mistaken for the elder of the two. Vitali, with a smile, accepted the bottle from Yuri, gave it a shake, and took a hearty swig. "Spending all day in this desert, it's impossible not to tan. But what about you, roaming away from the Seri subplanet? What brings you here?" The manager's plan is in motion. The Black Sun is now under fire from the Interstellar Banking Association, the Trade Union, the Enterprise Alliance, and the Fourth Group. Their days are numbered. Tatooine is ripe for our move. As for the Celia planet, well, once we're set up here, we'll join the others there, Yuri explained, taking a deep puff of his cigar and blowing the smoke toward the cargo hold. "There's going to be a showdown." Vitali's face clouded over. "You mean a civil war? How is Ghidorah doing?" Yuri deflected, changing the subject. "I imagine she's contemplating suicide by now," Vitali replied, shaking his head. "But if someone could restore her to the lavish lifestyle she once enjoyed, she'd do anything they asked. What do you think?" "Fuck you!" Yuri cursed and shoved Vitali away. The Oro-class cargo ship continued its ultra-low flight, evading radar detection as much as possible. Although the planet's vast, uninhabited deserts made radar scans unlikely, caution was paramount. The ship soon reached a hilly region characterized by its complex terrain, covering at least 1 million square kilometers. The area, filled with rocks and ravines, presented a challenge even for the most advanced scanning devices, making it an ideal hideout. Following the navigation system, the ship weaved through the treacherous rocks and mountains before descending into a valley with even more intricate terrain. It finally landed in a relatively flat, open space nestled within the valley. This secluded spot, surrounded by mountains and obscured by rocks, was invisible from the sky, ensuring that even passing spaceships could not detect it. In the surrounding hidden areas, no fewer than 20 missile towers had been constructed. These towers lay dormant for now, but once activated, they could unleash hundreds of long-arrow surface-to-air missiles, decimating any threat that dared approach. Vol 2, Chapter 206, Borrowing the Chicken to Lay the Egg Again, Part 1. After the spacecraft came to a halt, Yuri Vitaly Orlov emerged from the hatch to be greeted by several heavily armed Boza men and a contingent of B-1 combat robots. Yuri's eyes immediately found the leader of the group, a man of short stature with a prominent, ugly scar across his face. With a wide grin, Yuri approached him with open arms, exclaiming, "Yo! If it isn't Scar! How's life treating you on Tatooine?" Scar returned the gesture with a hearty laugh and a robust hug. "You finally decided to grace us with your presence, Santa. Does this mean we're in for something big?" "Of course," Yuri replied, draping an arm around Scar's shoulders as they walked towards a nearby cave. "Santa Claus is here to deliver gifts, as always." The cave was spacious, with sentries and defensive positions established at its entrance. Inside, various supplies were piled up, though many of the boxes were empty. 5 SCVs emerged from the depths of the cave, ready to unload the Christmas gift from the Oro-class cargo ship. "Santa, are we gearing up for another big score this time?" Scar asked, his grin widening. "A big score? Do you think you're up for it?" Yuri glanced at him skeptically. Scar flexed his arm, showcasing the bulging veins on his well-developed muscles. "We've got enough food and water to last us 2 months, and plenty of weapons and ammo. We're a different breed now, fully recovered and just waiting for your word." "Enough? We're far from it," Yuri remarked, taking a puff of his cigar and gesturing towards the empty supply boxes. "We're still lacking. Let me tell you, our boss is currently at war with the Black Sun. Their days are numbered." "Your boss can take down the Black Sun? How powerful is he?" Scar asked, visibly impressed. Yuri chuckled, patting him on the shoulder. "Our boss is not someone to be underestimated. With the Black Sun out of the picture, Jabba's forces can easily handle any fallout without raising any alarms." "Wait, so we're just supposed to sit here in this dump? I thought you were here to put us to work." Scar, already irritable, raised his voice in frustration, his hand dropping from Yuri's shoulder. Yuri pointed towards the spaceship, where 2 large tracked construction vehicles were slowly making their way out. These vehicles, measuring 23 meters in length, featured a trapezoidal track design, a closed upper structure, a large cargo compartment at the rear, and were equipped with a robotic arm and a mining drill at the front. "What the hell is this? A construction truck?" Scar cursed upon seeing the vehicles. "You expect us to use construction trucks for our operations?" "Calm down, Scar. Let's hear the plan out," Broderick Stone interjected, emerging from the cave with a more composed demeanor. Yuri waited for Vitaly, who was directing the construction vehicles, to join them before speaking. "Let's go meet with Ghidorah the Hutt," he said, leading the way deeper into the cave. The further they ventured, the more evident the signs of artificial modification became. The cave walls had been smoothed out and in some places covered with metal plates. The area was equipped with air conditioners, water purifiers, and even a kitchen. Suddenly, a loud tirade erupted from one of the rooms. "I've had enough. How much longer must I subsist on this synthetic food? I want a shower. I want dancers. I want fresh food," followed by the sound of a rice bowl being hurled across the room. Scar smirked. "Has she forgotten what a stun gun feels like again?" Yuri waved off the comment. "She's an important client. Our boss has a message for her." With that, he proceeded into the room. Inside, they found Ghidorah the Hutt, her massive and repulsive form slithering about the room in agitation, reminiscent of a loathsome slug. The room's facilities were clearly inadequate for her demands, setting the stage for the unfolding drama. The The room was simple, yet fully equipped, containing everything one might expect, though now it lay in disarray, most of its contents shattered. Ghidorah, with his short stature, waved his arms frantically, cursing in Hutes. Yuri and his companions couldn't understand a word, but Yuri didn't seem to mind. He walked over, bent down, and activated a communicator lying on the ground. The device projected a hologram of a man cloaked in black, his hood drawn low to obscure the upper half of his face, exuding an aura of malevolence. This was Tang Xiao, but his current disguise rendered him unrecognizable to Ghidorah, the Scar group, or anyone familiar with his usual appearance. Hut, Ghidorah Besadi, Tang Xiao's voice emanated from the device, altered in a way that was both unrecognizable and unsettling. "Who are you?" Ghidorah demanded, his anger palpable. "I'm someone who can offer you assistance," Tang Xiao replied calmly. "Assistance? You call causing chaos in my hideout assistance? I sought an alliance, not this. Madness!" Ghidorah bellowed. "Today you'll get your answer," Tang Xiao stated. "Speak then," Ghidorah demanded. "Your predicament is straightforward. Here on Tatooine, you're a marked man. Step outside, and Jabba won't hesitate to kill you. At best, you'll end up imprisoned, never to see daylight again. And if you return to Nasada, the Besadi family will merely keep you as a figurehead. Thus, allying with me is your sole option. And how do you propose we collaborate? Speak." Ghidorah was losing his patience. "Looking for a Christmas present? I've brought 3, Tang Xiao said with a sneer, then gestured to Yuri. Yuri produced a memory chip, activated the projector, and an image of a construction vehicle materialized. The gravel and the Scar instantly recognized the 2 vehicles displayed, which were the ones Yuri had brought. STS-32, a foreman-level salvage vehicle, the Foreman Salvager, Yuri explained, a cigar dangling from his lips. This is a highly efficient resource collection vehicle, equipped with a mineral cracker capable of directly decomposing minerals for processing and construction work. "So, you expect me to mine as a form of cooperation?" Ghidorah's patience had worn thin. Given that Tatooine is under Jabba's control, with his mercenaries and bounty hunters patrolling the area, large-scale supply deliveries are out of the question. Anything less substantial, and you can forget about challenging his dominance here, Yuri explained, then introduced another memory chip and activated its projection. The image of a massive structure appeared, and Yuri said, "Our goal is to acquire this." Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, STS-32, a Foreman Salvager, a Foreman-level rescue vehicle. Vol 2, Chapter 207, Borrowing Chickens to Lay Eggs Again, Part 2. Upon witnessing the contents of the second storage, Ghidorah was rendered speechless. Her gaze was fixed on the memory, her eyes meticulously scanning every piece of data without missing a beat. Even Broderick, Gravel, and Magten's Scar, who stood by her side, were astounded by the revelation. The object in question was colossal, a marvel that, even if placed in a spatial environment, would be considered monumental. Yet this creation was none other than a vehicle, a land-based aircraft carrier, to be precise. Spanning 568 meters in length, 237 meters in width, and standing 44 meters tall, this behemoth boasted 3 expansive airstrips and an integrated command center. Supported by 8 sets of giant trapezoidal tracks, this land-based giant was a force to be reckoned with. Equipped with an arsenal that included electromagnetic guns, vertical missile launch systems, and point defense systems, it was a formidable weapon of war. Furthermore, it had the capacity to expand up to 3 production lines, allowing for the manufacture of various vehicles, fighters, and bombers, provided there were sufficient materials. This aircraft carrier, integrating strike capability, logistics, production, maneuverability, and command, could single-handedly sustain a high-intensity conflict. "A land-based aircraft carrier," Ghidorah exclaimed in disbelief. Magten Scar, unable to contain his amusement, clapped Yuri on the shoulder and bellowed, "Ha! Santa, is this the Christmas present you've prepared for me? I was almost fooled by that construction truck. Ha! Where is this aircraft carrier located?" "It exists within the blueprints," Tang Xiao replied calmly. "What did you say?" "It hasn't been constructed yet." Ghidorah's fury was palpable. "Then why bother showing this to me?" "This is where you come in," Tang Xiao explained. "I will provide you with the blueprints and send engineers to assist. However, the construction of this land-based aircraft carrier is your responsibility. Oh, and I've generously decided to name the carrier after you, the Ghidorah. Ghidorah, visibly irritated, retorted, "Do you honestly believe that a mere blueprint will persuade me, the great Hutt Ghidorah, to ally with you? Ridiculous. Leave at once." "Are you certain about that?" Tang Xiao asked, a mocking tone in his voice. He then turned to Gravel and instructed, "Gravel, please make the necessary arrangements to transport our esteemed Lord Ghidorah back to Mos Esper port." "Understood," Gravel responded, a sly grin spreading across his face. "You, stay back!" Ghidorah backed away in alarm, then pointed an accusing finger at Tang Xiao. "Where do you expect me to find the resources to build this land-based aircraft carrier?" "You've arrived at the crux of the matter," Tang Xiao said, his tone shifting to one of seriousness. "Constructing this aircraft carrier won't be easy, but I assure you, the effort will be worthwhile. With this carrier at your disposal, and considering Tatooine's vast desert that spans over 99.9% of the planet, the possibilities are endless. This includes the potential to rival Jabba." Ghidorah, now somewhat calmer yet still skeptical, inquired, "How so?" "The land-based aircraft carrier is indeed a Leviathan, but you must be aware of the other giants that roam the deserts of Tatooine, correct?" Tang Xiao posed the question, prompting Ghidorah to ponder. "What giants?" Ghidorah, puzzled, failed to grasp the hint. "Jawas," Tang Xiao clarified. "Many Jawa tribes possess large sandcrawlers originally left behind by the Corellian Mining Company. These massive construction machines, abandoned by the mining teams, have been repurposed by the Jawas as mobile homes." With a click, Yuri activated the memory again, and the projection of the land-based aircraft carrier disassembled into several modules. Tang Xiao pointed to the suspension and load-carrying modules, elaborating, "My engineering team has conducted a preliminary assessment. If you can secure 8 desert crawlers, the chassis of this land-based aircraft carrier will no longer pose a concern." Ghidorah, though initially resistant, let out a grudging acknowledgement. "Don't assume I'm ignorant of these matters. It would indeed be advantageous if the Jawa desert crawlers could be repurposed for our needs." The crawlers were far from falling apart. If anything, they were being considered as the chassis for a land-based aircraft carrier. "You're concerned it's not fast enough, right?" Tang Xiao mused aloud. "For us, this land-based aircraft carrier serves merely as a large, mobile platform. It doesn't require a ski jump for takeoff, so the demands on its load-bearing capacity are significantly less. Plus, we can integrate anti-gravity components to alleviate the pressure on the crawler, making it more manageable. These are all challenges that can be addressed during the design phase," he explained. "I understand you have your own influence within Nasada. Finding some engineers shouldn't pose a problem, should it?" Tang Xiao inquired. "And what about you?" Ghidorah responded, his tone icy. "I'll assemble a technical team to analyze and adapt the land-based aircraft carrier, ensuring the technology aligns more closely with our construction needs. I'll also assist in manufacturing some of the precision components. Essentially, this project requires a tripartite collaboration. You, me, and the Jawas," Tang Xiao outlined. "Why do you believe the Jawas will be cooperative?" Ghidorah questioned skeptically. "If they're reluctant, we'll have to persuade them one way or another," Tang Xiao replied, his smile taking on a sinister edge. "The LAVs I provided you with, are they not sufficient? If necessary, I have more at my disposal." Broderick Gravel interjected. "What's the status of the construction vehicle you sent? Are you planning to commence mining operations on Tatooine? You must be aware that, despite its abundant iron ore, the quality is notably poor. This was the rationale behind previous mining corporations abandoning the planet. The inferior quality of the ore isn't a concern for us. Those companies were driven by profit, and naturally Tatooine's low-grade ore didn't align with their objectives. Our interest lies not in the ore itself, but in Tatooine as a whole. The STS-32 Foreman-level rescue vehicles are perfectly capable of completing the task. They can directly decompose and extract minerals, which is incredibly efficient. With sufficient resources, we can certainly procure high-quality materials," Tang Xiao clarified. "I understand," Broderick Gravel conceded, choosing to drop the subject. Turning his attention back to Ghidorah, Tang Xiao pressed on. "Mobilize your resources and let's get this aircraft carrier operational. I'm not offering charity here." You're aware that without my intervention, you wouldn't even have the basic components necessary for this project. I understand, Ghidorah finally relented. I have access to several spaceship repair facilities on Nasada and other planets, complete with engineers ready to be deployed. We can start by repairing parts of the aircraft carrier, Tang Xiao offered. Then, addressing Broderick Gravel, he added, the task of persuading the Jawas falls to you. If there's anything else you need, don't hesitate to ask. Broderick Gravel's response was a grim smile. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter. The land aircraft carrier Capisi from Homeland, Carrick Desert. Attachment 2 of the Easter egg chapter, Desert Creeper of the Jawas. Vol 2, Chapter 208, Darth Plagueis's Pawns. In the outer reaches of the Milky Way, on the planet Murinster, the homeworld of the Moon People and the headquarters of the Interstellar Banking Association, a sinister plot was unfolding. Darth Plagueis, shrouded in darkness within his secluded chamber, spoke with a foreboding tone. The Trade Alliance and the Corporate Alliance are in position. You must ensure this trade summit proceeds exactly as we have planned. Darth Sidious. A figure, cloaked in black, appeared within the holographic projection. Most of his face was concealed by the hood, leaving only his thin chin and hooked nose visible in the dim light. Fear not, my lord, I have taken the necessary steps. Speaker Finns Valorum will soon find himself ousted from the position of Deputy Speaker of Botan. Without Botan's support, his downfall is imminent, Darth Sidious replied, his voice twisted and unsettling, as if it could induce nausea. Excellent. Your recent efforts have been commendable. The dissatisfaction among the Outer Rim planets towards the Republic has grown, and even from here I can sense their anger and despair, Darth Plagueis responded with a malevolent chuckle. It is my honor to serve, all for the ascension of the Sith, Sidious said, bowing deeply. Next, I will sever the medical supplies to the planet Jabeam, and Saria will soon be engulfed in civil war. They will blame Speaker Valorum's incompetence, further tarnishing the Republic's reputation. Changing the subject abruptly, Darth Plagueis inquired, what of the sudden obliteration of planet Sojourn? As he spoke, a surge of dark energy erupted, and a demonic voice echoed around Darth Sidious in the industrial sectors of Coruscant. Without hesitation, Sidious answered, Betrayal is unacceptable. I spotted Alexis Garin, leader of the Black Sun, at a gathering on Naboo. I am certain that behind Black Sun and Ghidorah, the Hutt lies King Als Varuna of Naboo, controlling their actions. Their target is the plasma mines of Naboo. Sensing no deceit, Darth Plagueis instantly withdrew his power, restoring calm. Leave Ghidorah to Jabba. As for Bando Gosa, let Master Dooku handle it. Perhaps his former apprentice, now Bando Gosa's leader, Marian Vasa, will enlighten him on the Jedi Order's folly. As you command, my lord, I will also dispatch my apprentice, Darth Maul. He will be your most lethal weapon, extracting Als Varuna from his sanctuary to sever his foolish head, Sidious declared with a sinister tone. No, I shall deal with Als Varuna personally. Naboo is inconsequential, provided its plasma ore production continues. After Varuna's demise, do as you wish with the planet. Understood, my lord. And have Darth Maul address the Black Sun issue. It could prove entertaining. Darth Plagueis added abruptly. As you wish. Sidious bowed, terminating the communication. Darth Plagueis, gazing at the now silent communicator, smirked coldly. 11-4D, tidy up. The true instrument of my will is soon to arrive. As the medical droid busied itself, Plagueis stared out at the ocean, murmuring, Darth Marthael, ha, ha. A priest-class shuttle, bearing the correct identification, bypassed Mullenstedt's defensive fleet to enter the atmosphere of Abora. The shuttle descended gracefully, and Tang Xiao hurried out, making his way into the villa of Hego Damask II. Ah, if it isn't our hero against the Black Sun, why forsake the spoils of war to visit this old man? Hego Damask II inquired leisurely. The contraband, smuggling routes, and slave mines are trivial matters. With your guidance, teacher, assimilating these assets is hardly a challenge, Tang Xiao replied, contrasting Hego's casual demeanor with a tone of respect and determination. Tang Xiao was in a good mood, yet his expression was anything but joyful. You don't seem happy at all. This doesn't look like the face of someone who has just acquired 123 million credits. What, isn't that enough? He remarked with a cold snort. Out of loyalty, I'll throw in an extra, a spaceship manufacturing business worth 50 million credits. But forget about purchasing that generous class frigate you mentioned any time within the next 2 years. He accurately detailed the value of the industry Tang Xiao had recently taken over, making it clear that he was fully in control. Tang Xiao appeared anxious as he glanced around before whispering, "There's something very important, and only we can handle it. This is no small matter." Higi looked down at Tang Xiao. The moon people were naturally tall, and Higi stood close to 2 meters. Despite the moon's slender build, his presence was imposing. But standing before him was a fearsome Sith Lord, which added a whole new level of intimidation. He stared at Tang Xiao for a long moment before slowly stating, "No one can uncover my secrets. I assure you, not even the entire planet of Merlinster can cast their gaze upon Ebola Island." Taking a deep breath, Tang Xiao handed a storage device to Higi. "Before, I killed Vigo Kashgaralan of the Black Sun, and then led a raid to obliterate his stronghold on planet Mercana. In one of his most hidden safes, I found this account, and within it, this item." Higi's brow furrowed as he activated the device, and the holographic projection of a Ragnarov-class Titan battleship immediately appeared. His expression shifted dramatically, and he quickly turned off the device, clutching it like a precious treasure. "To the laboratory," he said to Tang Xiao. Without waiting for a response, Hige dashed out of the villa. Tang Xiao hurried after him, leaping into the 70-meter-deep hole that led to Hige's laboratory. Once inside, Hige reopened the memory device, fixating on the data it contained. The light blue glow of the holographic projection illuminated his face, revealing his frenzied excitement, even without the need for force sensitivity. Vol 2, Chapter 209, Silence is Golden. The revelation of a 14,100-meter Titan battleship functioning entirely as a colossal electromagnetic gun elicited a burst of laughter from Darth Plagueis. This moment of mirth seemed to peel back the layers of his usually serious demeanor, revealing perhaps a more genuine facet of the Sith Lord's character. "Honored Lord," Tang Xiao approached, breaking the momentary lapse into amusement. "This behemoth isn't a relic of our time." Darth Plagueis, snapping back to his usual composed self, scrutinized the data with keen interest. "Its origins are elusive. It could belong to the Eternal Empire, or perhaps the Infinite Empire. Are you certain this came from Kashgaralan's safe?" "Absolutely. I forwarded it immediately upon discovery. It seemed like the most fitting choice." Tang Xiao hesitated slightly before continuing. "The super battleship Pregs. How did Garalan come into possession of such a marvel? His cognitive archives bore no mention of it." Darth Plagueis mused, his brow furrowed in thought. Turning to Tang Xiao, he inquired, "Was there anything else of note?" Tang Xiao shook his head. "Only the Black Sun account details, nothing more." His decision to withhold further explanation was deliberate. For a mind as astute as Darth Plagueis's, unnecessary elaboration could only muddle the truth. Tang Xiao understood that confronting Garalan's intellect directly was futile. Any attempt to fabricate a story about acquiring the supership would be immediately seen through. Lies beget lies, leading only to downfall. In this instance, Tang Xiao's strategy was to let Darth Plagueis draw his own conclusions. The more a brilliant mind dwells on a problem, the more it can become ensnared in its own logic. Despite potential suspicions, the design and concept of the Ragnarov-class Titan battleship stood in stark contrast to the more recognizable Ghost Fighter and Vengeance-class light destroyer, making any direct connection unlikely. The vast difference in design philosophy between the Cobalt Alloy-class heavy frigate and the Titan further obfuscated any potential links. In the grand scheme, the Ragnarov-class Titan, known for its simplicity and lack of sophistication among the 6 Titans in Original Sin of the Empire of the Sun, was unlikely to draw undue attention. Plagueis, after a moment of contemplation, returned his focus to the Titan. This battleship bears the marks of antiquity. Its energy systems and armaments, though rudimentary, suggest a design born out of desperation rather than innovation. It's a relic of war, not peace, likely conceived as a last-ditch effort to turn the tide in a conflict. Tang Xiao, intrigued, asked, "Why do you say that?" "Because it represents an extreme solution. Only in the throes of total war, when faced with dire circumstances, would one resort to such drastic measures. The designers, limited by their era's technology, envisioned the largest electromagnetic gun as their ultimate weapon, Plagueis explained. He then posed a question to Tang Xiao. Imagine you were tasked with creating a super battleship. How would you approach its design? Without hesitation, Tang Xiao replied, I'd equip it with an arsenal of ghost fighters. This exchange not only highlighted the vast technological and strategic disparities between their times, but also underscored the importance of understanding the context in which such a weapon was conceived. Silence, in this case, proved more potent than any explanation Tang Xiao could have offered, allowing Darth Plagueis to weave his own narrative around the mysterious Titan battleship. Without any fault, Darth Plagueis demonstrated his intelligence. Yes, this is your limitation. You rely too heavily on the Ghost Fighter, which is currently your strongest weapon. Your strategies are centered around it. This super battleship bears the marks of an ancient era, possibly before the discovery of blaster beams. It could belong to the Eternal Empire, but that's unlikely. It's either from the Infinite Empire or the Killik. If it's the latter, there are many Killik remnants in the Leia system. His deductions about the Emergency Traders League were astute, yet they led him astray, causing him to delve deeper into error. After a moment of contemplation, he quickly stored the memory and turned to Tang Xiao. Why offer me the data for this super battleship? Couldn't you keep it for yourself? Tang Xiao gave a wry smile. How could I possibly construct such an advanced spacecraft? No, you have the capability. Darth Plagueis suddenly leaned forward, his gaze intense as if trying to see through Tang Xiao. Your super-large colonial ship has the technology to build such a spaceship. It's definitely possible to construct a super warship. If I could find the dockyard where the super colonial ship was built, perhaps it would be feasible, Tang Xiao admitted, shrugging. Forget it. If your super colonial ship can perform hyperspace jumps, its technology surpasses that of this warship. Darth Plagueis dismissed with a wave of his hand. Tang Xiao then added, We need to defeat the Galactic Republic and rule the entire galaxy. That's why I believe we need this battleship, so I acquired it for you immediately. Darth Plagueis smirked. Your loyalty is commendable, but you're unaware of my true plans. I would never presume to guess at your vast wisdom, my lord, Tang Xiao responded, bowing his head. That's what I appreciate about you, Darth Plagueis said, visibly pleased. He then declared, It's time I gradually unveil my plan to you. Tang Xiao knelt on one knee, expressing his utmost respect. It would be my highest honor, honorable lord. Join me on a journey to planet Naboo, and from there to planet Yinchor, where you'll see a part of my grand scheme, Darth Plagueis announced, placing his hand on Tang Xiao's shoulder. And as a reward, we shall name this super battleship the Marseille. Vol 2, Chapter 210, The Inner Circle. Tang Xiao's heart swelled with joy upon hearing the news. Unable to contain his excitement, he burst into laughter and exclaimed, Master, to have such a supreme honor bestowed upon me is beyond my wildest dreams. Ha ha ha! Realizing he might have overstepped, he quickly composed himself, bowing his head in apology. I'm sorry, my lord. I truly did not anticipate that you would grace this super battleship with my name. Darth Plagueis observed the enthusiasm in Tang Xiao's reaction, but remained focused on the task at hand. This ship, while large, is not without its challenges. The technology it embodies is vastly different from anything we have encountered in the Galactic Republic or even within the Sith Empire. Our scientists will need to overcome significant hurdles to bring this project to fruition. Plagueis was intrigued by the battleship's design, which hinted at origins from either the ancient Killik or the Infinite Empire. These civilizations, having existed over 35,000 years ago, were known for their advanced technologies, and Plagueis felt a sense of pride in his accurate deduction. The manner in which the battleship's data came into their possession was of little concern to Plagueis. The Black Sun's influence stretched far across the galaxy, and there were countless ways the information could have been acquired, be it through a bounty hunter stumbling upon ruins, corporate espionage, or the shadowy dealings of the black market. In his view, Tang Xiao's ignorance of the ship's origins was perfectly normal. After a final review of the battleship's data, Darth Plagueis nodded in approval and carefully stored the memory chip. You've made a wise decision in entrusting this data to me. Our plans for galactic domination are still in their infancy, and we lack the means to commence construction under the watchful eyes of the Republic. Tang Xiao, curious about the timeline, asked, "Are we to begin construction now?" Plagueis explained, "Assembling a capable team and dedicating the necessary time to this project will not only be a monumental task, but will also significantly advance our shipbuilding technology. The most sophisticated shipbuilding capabilities currently reside within a few key corporations. It would certainly be in our interest to carve out a niche in their market." He then added with a sly grin, "But let us set aside this matter for now. Today, I will continue to instruct you on harnessing your anger to control the Force." With that, Tang Xiao was subtly dismissed from any further involvement in the Titan battleship project. In the core region of the Milky Way, on the Republic's capital planet of Coruscant, a private dinner was being held in a luxurious mansion. Claire Underwood, dressed in an elegant red gown, mingled among the guests, her presence brightening the room. She approached a distinguished Semirish woman, offering her a glass of champagne with a warm smile. "Mrs. Tula, your dress is absolutely stunning. It complements your unique charm perfectly. The fabric is silk, sourced from a creature known as a silkworm, on the planet Dawn, a completely natural wonder." Counselor Thumbak Tulaha of Simirth beamed with delight. "I adore this dress. I never imagined such creatures existed. I always believed that ice spider silk from Crest Planet was the pinnacle of textile materials." Claire responded with a smile. "While ice spider silk has its charm, a person of your stature deserves a diverse wardrobe that reflects your status." "Oh, Claire, my dear friend, you are too kind," Thunback Tula replied, clearly pleased with the compliment. Meanwhile, Francis Underwood engaged in a more pragmatic conversation with Orn Frita, the senator from Linos. They discussed the intricacies of political maneuvering, whispering about strategies to influence upcoming legislative decisions. "We still need to persuade 21 more members, Your Excellency. Without action, this education motion will undoubtedly pass," Francis stated. "Ha ha ha! Surely you can manage that. Right, Mr. Francis?" Orn Frita chuckled, his hefty frame jiggling as he embraced his Twi'lek mistress. Valorum's push for this education bill is merely a precursor to the more contentious taxation bill aimed at the Outer Ring Star regions. At this juncture, no one will mount a serious opposition, as the real battle lies ahead. Francis nodded thoughtfully. However, the corporate giants have become increasingly assertive, posing a genuine threat. Congressman Tower clapped Francis on the back. "This education bill will hike our planet's financial outlay by 5% annually, with the bulk of it ending up in the Republic's coffers. What's the point of education when we could use those funds to cultivate spice fields instead? Rest assured, Mr. Francis, if this bill fails to pass, my Ring faction colleagues and I will stand with Dawn Planet in the future. You understand the implications." Taking a sip of his wine, Francis replied, "Dawn Planet isn't concerned with parliamentary seats under Speaker Finis Valorum's leadership. It's hardly a matter of influence." "Ha! Valorum's days of prancing around are numbered. Despite the corporate giants being a troublesome lot, his actions have alienated both the Outer Ring planets and the corporate entities simultaneously," Ornfoltata declared, downing his glass of wine with fervor. A sly smile crossed Francis's lips as he leaned in closer, whispering, "Nevertheless, I can secure those 21 negative votes for you." "Oh, Mr. Francis, let's not beat around the bush. I'm aware of your influence among many MPs, which is why I've sought you out," Mr. Tower said. "The so-called influence is merely a byproduct of mutual benefit. Dawn Planet possesses a robust industrial system, and we're more than willing to assist less developed planets in enhancing their industrial capabilities." However, Francis's tone shifted. "I believe Deputy Speaker Botan has served long enough. It might be time for him to retire." Congressman Ta's expression darkened. Despite recent criticisms, Deputy Speaker Botan is highly esteemed. Convincing him to retire could prove challenging. "This is where your influence comes into play, Mr. Senator. The Central Faction members would welcome this change. They're just in need of a new leader," Francis concluded with a knowing smile. Vol 2, Chapter 211, Joining the Circle. In the office of Nebu Counselor Schiff Palpatine within the Galactic Parliament building, a serene atmosphere prevailed. Palpatine, with a genial smile, handed a glass of water to Francis, initiating their conversation with a light topic. The education proposal put forward by Valorum isn't of much consequence, whether it passes or not, Palpatine remarked, his tone soothing and devoid of any disdain. However, your insights are quite astute. Deputy Speaker Botan has indeed been less than helpful to Speaker Valorum in numerous instances. It would be beneficial to have someone more capable assisting the Speaker. Palpatine's inquiry followed, laced with curiosity. But why approach me with this matter, Mr. Francis? I would think that Dawn Planet, with its growing influence, could sway some of the Outer Ring Planet counselors to change their stance, could it not? Francis Underwood offered a smile, choosing not to answer directly. My hope is for a better galaxy. Whenever I delve into history, I'm struck by the resilience of the Sith Empire, the might of the Eternal Empire, and the ferocity of the Infinite Empire. Yet all have faded into obscurity, leaving only the Galactic Republic standing. But by what means? Certainly not in its current state. We all desire a better republic, Mr. Francis. I appreciate your vision, and I believe we have much in common, Palpatine responded, his smile unwavering. The Galactic Republic needs transformation. I envision a strong government capable of ruling the entire galaxy effectively. But as it stands, even minor disturbances seem insurmountable, Francis lamented, shaking his head. And what form do you believe this change should take? Palpatine inquired. Balance, Francis declared. The current state of the Galactic Council and the Republic at large is a result of imbalance. We need to restore a delicate balance until the time for change truly arrives. That's why you encouraged Aoun Free-Ta to propose the motion to impeach Deputy Speaker Botan. With Senator Ta leading the Ring faction and our support, the impeachment could indeed succeed. But how does this relate to balance? Palpatine probed further. Speaker Finis Valorum is like a garden suspended in the air, his support base eroding. Yet, a third of the inner ring planets still back Valorum. We cannot allow this garden to collapse entirely. Thus, your influence is crucial in removing Botan, the decaying pillar, without causing a collapse, and replacing him with a stronger support, Francis explained. And who do you propose as this new support? Palpatine asked, already intrigued. Massa Meta would be the most suitable candidate, Francis suggested, aligning with Palpatine's own preference, which brought a broader smile to Palpatine's face. I believe we will find much in common, Mr. Francis, Palpatine chuckled. This time, Valorum's education bill will fail, but this is just the beginning. With corporate giants and trade unions involved, our work is cut out for us. It is an honor to collaborate with a visionary statesman like you, dedicated to the Republic's future, Lord Palpatine. Francis expressed his gratitude. There's much more to come, Mr. Francis. In 3 days, a dear friend of mine will be promoted to Lieutenant Governor of the Siswena sector. A small gathering will be held, and I would like you to attend. This friend, Wilhuff Tarkin, is a remarkably talented young man. I believe you two will find much to discuss, Palpatine revealed. Francis nodded in agreement. I would be honored to attend. With the information provided by Tang Xiao, Francis understood that he had successfully made his initial approach to Schiff Palpatine and entered his circle. Through his efforts and the prestige established by the Outer Galactic Planetary Mutual Aid Fund, along with the burgeoning industrial capabilities of the Fourth Civilization, Francis stood out among the many Outer Ring planets. This foundation, coupled with deliberate engagement over the period, marked the beginning of a new alliance. Francis and Claire Underwood had garnered significant prestige across the Outer Ring Star region for their accomplishments. However, this was merely the beginning. Francis knew that every step forward required careful consideration. He and Tang Xiao had extensively deliberated on the future of the Fourth Civilization. Their strategy was clear. They needed to position themselves against the Galactic Republic while simultaneously aligning with Schiff Palpatine. This delicate balance was crucial for maintaining a favorable stance in the impending war. Then we'll see you in 3 days, Lord Palpatine, Francis said with a smile before taking his leave. Palpatine watched him go, a thoughtful expression on his face. However, his contemplation was cut short by the sound of his communicator. The holographic projection revealed a tall, elderly man, Jedi Master Dooku. Anger was etched across Dooku's face, his neatly trimmed beard bristling as if it were the mane of an enraged beast. Despite his fury, Dooku made an effort to speak calmly. "Senator Palpatine, is the information you've received accurate? Is Marion Wassa truly alive?" Dooku's voice was strained, barely containing his anger. Palpatine sighed, the weight of the news evident in his voice. "I'm afraid it's true. Reliable sources have informed me that the recently active cult, Bando Gosa, is led by your former apprentice, Marion Wassa." "How is this possible? Master Windu assured me that Vortha was dead," Dooku exclaimed in disbelief. "It seems the Jedi Order's intelligence was mistaken this time. Marion Wassa is very much alive. In fact, a few days ago, she collaborated with the Black Sun to detonate a nuclear bomb on an uncharted planet," Palpatine explained, his tone somber. "We must act before Wassa and Bando Gosa further tarnish the Jedi Order's reputation. The Republic cannot afford any more chaos." "Mace Windu, that fool!" Dooku cursed, then nodded at Palpatine. "I understand, Senator. You need not worry. I will handle this matter personally." Palpatine offered a word of caution, though a barely noticeable sneer tugged at the corner of his mouth. "I still advise against any rash actions. Perhaps it would be wise to consult Master Yoda first." The exchange between Palpatine and Dooku highlighted the intricate web of alliances and betrayals within the galaxy. As tensions rose, the lines between friend and foe blurred, setting the stage for an epic confrontation that would determine the fate of the Fourth Civilization and the Galactic Republic. Vol 2, Chapter 212, Disagreement. In the Jedi Temple's tower, Master Dooku's voice thundered with fury, echoing off the walls of the rotunda at the summit. Here, arranged in a circle, were 12 seats occupied by the highest members of the Jedi Order, the Supreme Council, the decision-making body of the Order. At this moment, all members, including those absent in person but present via holographic projection, were seated, witnessing the outburst. "Why is Komari Vosa still alive? Master Windu, I demand an explanation," Dooku bellowed. Master Windu, seated next to Master Yoda, responded with a stern expression. "Komari Vosa is no longer affiliated with the Jedi Order. She vanished during the Battle of Baldisa and was presumed dead. Her chapter is closed, Master Dooku. It's time to let go." "But she is alive, and now she's the High Priestess of the Bando Gosa cult, leading those monsters," Dooku retorted, barely containing his anger. "The cult's involvement in the deaths of 11 Jedi at Baldissar is indeed troubling. However, this matter is not for you to pursue, Master Dooku," Windu replied coolly. "Komari Vosa was once my apprentice." Dooku's voice was strained with emotion. "Not anymore. You were among those who voted for her expulsion, Master Dooku," Windu said, his tone unyielding. "Your decision was based on her growing susceptibility to the dark side, proving it was the correct one. It's the Jedi Order's persecution that led to this. I wanted to end our master-apprentice bond, not push her to this point. Sending her to Baldissar was a death sentence," Dooku accused, pointing directly at Windu. "In Baldissar, we lost 11 Jedi, not just Komari Vosa. Her survival only complicates matters," Windu stated, his calm demeanor further infuriating Dooku. "Are you labeling her a traitor?" Dooku roared. Master Windu remained silent, his closed eyes and indifferent posture conveying his stance. "I will confront Komari Vosa myself," Dooku declared firmly. "Anger is consuming your judgment," Master Yoda finally spoke, his voice calm yet authoritative. "You must not involve yourself in this. It will only draw you closer to the dark side." Before Master Yoda, Dooku could only bow his head, frustration evident. "The Dark Age is prophesied to come. Using the lives of Jedi as political tools makes you complicit. Consider the situation calmly. The coming of the Dark Age signifies an imbalance in the Force. It is our duty to restore that balance," Master Yoda advised, shaking his head. Dooku, however, was unconvinced. "Instead of chasing after the mythical Chosen One, we should be taking meaningful action. But if this is the Council's decision, then I am deeply disappointed," he said, leaving the room without another glance. Watching Dooku's departure, Master Windu turned to Yoda. "We should keep a closer eye on Master Dooku. His discontent seems to be growing." Master Yoda sighed, giving a weary nod. "I'll assign my apprentice, Depa Balaba, to this task," Windu said, receiving Yoda's silent approval. Then, Shifting the focus back to the Council's agenda, he addressed another member. Master Ki-Adi-Mundi, let's continue with our discussion. Master Mundi expressed his concerns. The situation on planet Celia is becoming increasingly perilous, with a civil war looming on the horizon. I will return to planet Celia and do everything within my power to mediate the conflict and nip the possibility of a civil war in the bud. However, this conflict is complicated by the presence of malevolent forces operating behind the scenes, making the task far from straightforward. To this end, I will enlist the assistance of Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi, to investigate these forces. Their involvement will also help expedite Celia's formal admission into the Galactic Republic. Master Ki-Adi-Mundi, with a frown creasing his brow, appeared to disagree with the plan. However, after a brief glance at Master Windu, he chose not to voice his objections and instead offered a slight nod of agreement. In the heart of the Milky Way lies the Celia Galaxy, with planet Celia nestled within. This galaxy is characterized by a highly unique environment, dominated by several gravitational forces, including 3 small stars and an indeterminate number of micro-black holes. This complex gravitational landscape has miraculously spared planet Celia from destruction. Instead, the planet thrives, its natural environment enriched by the abundant cosmic radiation it receives. However, this very uniqueness has rendered the establishment of stable hyperspace channels near planet Celia impossible. Vessels arriving from other parts of the galaxy are forced to navigate outside the gravitational influence of the Celia system, recalculate their hyperspace trajectory, and perform a short jump to approach the planet. Should the galaxy's gravitational conditions become chaotic, these spacecraft are left with no choice but to wait at the periphery until stability is restored. This challenge in communication has fostered a sense of isolationism within the planet's government, leading to a refusal to join the Galactic Republic despite numerous overtures. Amidst this backdrop, a Jedi Master from planet Celia rose to prominence, leveraging his abilities and popularity to secure a position on the Jedi Supreme Council, Master Ki-Adi-Mundi. Yet, unbeknownst to many, several other entities have set their sights on this untouched world, drawn by its primitive allure. Note 1. The unique setting of planet Celia, with its complex gravitational environment, should not be compared to the 3-body problem. This narrative choice is intentional. If there are any objections, direct them towards George Lucas, not the author. Vol 2 Chapter 213, Brink of Civil War, Star Wars: The Fourth Scourge. The planet Celia boasts an environment of unparalleled serenity, with a temperate climate, a rich diversity of species, and an exceptionally high coverage of lush vegetation. Notably, it lacks any large predators that could pose a threat to civilization. This unique setting has fostered a distinct isolationism among the Celia inhabitants, who have historically resisted any form of technological intrusion to preserve their planet's pristine ecological state. When an expedition company first discovered Celia, subsequent attempts by various corporations to establish a presence were met with stiff resistance from the native population. The Celians preferred their traditional village-style living over adopting even the most basic technological advancements, all in the name of preserving their environment. The Galactic Republic, however, saw great potential in Celia, not only for its idyllic living conditions, but also for its wealth of valuable natural resources. The addition of such a planet to the Republic was viewed as a significant boon, especially during a time when the Phoenix-Valorum alliance was under strain. Efforts to integrate Celia into the Galactic Republic were persistent, with numerous envoys, including Jedi Knights, dispatched to negotiate. Eventually, under the guidance of a forward-thinking leader, Celia began to open up, albeit cautiously. A castle was constructed in a desolate area of the planet to welcome immigrants and facilitate limited interaction with the Galactic Republic. However, this partial opening did not sit well with all Celians. The younger generation, in particular, found themselves enchanted by the advanced technologies of the Galactic Republic. This fascination sparked the tech movement, a push towards lifting restrictions and embracing technological progress. The movement gained momentum, subtly manipulated by an unexpected figure, Jabba the Hutt, the notorious crime lord from Tatooine. Jabba saw Celia's fertile environment as an ideal setting for spice cultivation and envisioned introducing the thrilling Bunta Eve Padres to the planet. Through his agent, Yvant Mon, Jabba began to covertly influence the tech movement, aiming to carve out his own stake on Celia. Complications arose when Yvant Mon's connection to Simon Tonis, a former official of the Interstellar Banking Association, came to light. Yvant Mon had hoped to acquire weapons and supplies through Tonis to fuel the burgeoning conflict on Celia. However, Tonis's unforeseen predicament put these plans on hold. The situation escalated when Tang Xiao, after rescuing Tonis, sought to expand the market for the fourth civilization. Tonis introduced Yvant Mon to Tang Xiao, who then delegated the task to Yuri Orlov. Utilizing his expertise, Orlov began smuggling weapons to Celia, further destabilizing the planet. The arrival of Super Lotus, who effortlessly hacked Yvant Mon's communication systems, allowed the fourth civilization to swiftly dominate Celia's trade. Despite Yvant Mon's reluctance, he recognized the futility of opposing the fourth civilization without Orlov's support. The original course of events seemed to be veering in a new direction. In a castle on Celia, an obese man stood on a specially constructed platform, fervently advocating for technological adoption. He eloquently outlined the benefits of technology, emphasizing the convenience and security it could bring to their society. The speech marked a pivotal moment, as Celia teetered on the brink of civil war, divided between preserving its ecological sanctity and embracing the allure of technological advancement. He passionately argued that embracing technology would not only increase the planet's population and simplify life, but also unlock access to previously unimaginable luxuries. Moreover, he claimed that technology would provide the means to defend against the threat of interstellar pirates, showcasing a series of holographic projections to illustrate his point. He painted a vivid picture of a future where advanced, comfortable, and powerful tools were at everyone's disposal. The audience, primarily composed of young Celia inhabitants, was captivated by the promise of such a future, erupting into cheers and applause. However, the mood shifted as the speaker, a corpulent Celia, raised his voice to decry the obstacles to this bright future. A bright future is ahead of us. Imagine holographic movies, hovering cars, racing competitions, exquisite food, and powerful weapons that ensure our safety from any harm. But what stands in our way? The corrupt Council of Elders. These elders, bloated with power and greed, would rather forsake all new technologies to protect their own status and authority. They are denying us a radiant future, clinging to their fleeting power, while we gain nothing and lose everything. The crowd's enthusiasm surged as they were urged to join the technology movement and fight for a brighter future for their planet, Celia. Following this rallying cry, a man with a closely cropped head began distributing gifts such as cakes, jelly, and technological devices like holographic players to the attendees, further fueling their excitement. Many rushed to sign up at the registration counter, eager to be part of the movement. After the rally, the short-haired man approached the obese Celia, Elder Dole Fermi Bonmi, and congratulated him on the successful speech, noting that over 1,000 new supporters had joined their cause. Elder Dole, basking in pride, credited the success to his collaborator, Mr. Bloom. Bloom, in turn, acknowledged the contributions of Afante Mon and the absent Santa Claus, whose deliveries had played a crucial role in swaying the crowd. The conspirators then discussed their grand plan, revealing their ambitions to infiltrate the Galactic Republic Parliament, secure influential positions, and monopolize trade on Celia. They envisioned a future where the planet's resources and wealth would bolster their power, with Elder Dole even aspiring to position his son as the great elder of Celia. As they plotted, they anticipated the execution of their plan in 7 standard days, provided there were no delays from Santa, marking the beginning of their ambitious endeavor to reshape the future of Celia. Vol 2, Chapter 2 of 14, Technical Movement. A massive AA-9 cargo ship descended from the sky, making its landing in a secluded desert on the planet Celia. This primitive world lacked any means to monitor its skies, rendering the 300-meter-long hull of the AA-9 an unnoticed visitor. As the hatch opened, the spacious cargo compartment revealed several rows of weapon racks, neatly arranged with firearms hanging in place. On the ground, ammunition boxes were stacked high, oddly adorned with Santa Claus patterns, a symbol lost on the inhabitants of Celia, who recognized it only as an image of an elderly human man in a red coat. Yuri Orlov disembarked from the cargo ship, donning sunglasses and puffing on a cigar, with two T-850 bodyguards promptly draping a trench coat over his shoulders, adding to his imposing demeanor. His brother, Vitaly Orlov, also sported sunglasses and smoked a cigar, though his attire of a shirt and vest was less striking. Awaiting their arrival were Elder Dole Fermi Bonmi of Celia, Braun, a representative of the Galactic Republic, and Yvette Mon, an underworld magnate. Their laughter filled the air upon greeting the Orlovs. In the cargo hold, a Pathfinder-class light attack vehicle was parked prominently, not in desert camouflage, but emblazoned with slogans like, "Long live technology." Its turret had been replaced with a podium equipped with a microphone. Braun embraced Yuri warmly, exclaiming, "It's really you, Santa! This is fantastic! Ha ha ha! If this operation succeeds, I'll be the first of 30 envoys sent by the Republic to achieve success. By law, I'll be promoted to the plenipotentiary representative of Celia, responsible for all affairs between the Republic and this planet." Yuri, taking another puff of his cigar, inquired, "Here are 100,000 assault rifles, 15 million rounds, and 1 million non-lethal rubber bullets. Is that sufficient?" "More than enough." "Ha!" Elder Dole responded with a bow. "No, far from enough," Yuri countered, shaking his head. "There are 450 million people on Celia. 100,000 rifles? Considering daily training and wear and tear? Tsk, tsk. Elder Dole, my friend, this is merely the beginning. Only those who control the army can control power, and you are the one who will control the army. And I'm just the Santa Claus delivering gifts to the army." In the cargo compartment, over 100 B-1 robots began transporting weapons and ammunition to a hover vehicle for delivery. Despite Celia's rejection of civilization, the infiltration of Jabba's forces and the Republic's efforts had introduced some technological products, including the hover vehicle. Elder Dole, gazing at the mountain of weapons, felt a tremor of excitement, sensing his rise to the position of Great Elder. Of course. Once the technical movement succeeds, I will establish a special Santa Claus Day to honor your significant contributions," he said with a smile. "That's called Christmas," Yuri corrected, patting him on the shoulder. "How much time do we have?" "The Council of Elders is set to convene in 4 days, and it will take our forces at least 3 days to march from the castle to the capital, Tekaf. We must act swiftly," Elder Dole explained. "Then what are we waiting for?" "Ha!" Yuri laughed heartily. 1 day later, on Celia, within the castle designed for extraterrestrial visitors, a vast crowd had gathered, far exceeding its intended capacity. The majority were Celia's native youth, brimming with excitement. They watched Elder Dole deliver a fiery speech from the high platform, waving their slogans and cheering enthusiastically. Offstage, members of the tech movement were actively engaged, distributing pendants shaped like robotic palms to participants. These pendants, worn around the neck, symbolized allegiance to the tech movement. Additionally, holographic projectors and portable LED screens were handed out, modernizing the traditional cloth slogans. Some enthusiasts adorned themselves with mechanical parts, showcasing their passion for advanced technology. At the heart of the gathering, in front of a raised platform where Dole was speaking, stood an army dressed in silver and white uniforms. This army, composed entirely of Celians, was easily identifiable by their distinctive metal helmets, reminiscent of top hats. These individuals represented the fervent supporters of the tech movement, ready to sacrifice everything for the cause of modernization, industrialization, and technological advancement. Each soldier was armed with a Type 21 assault rifle. Yuri Orlov, leisurely smoking a cigar, watched Dole Fermi Bummy deliver his speech. Turning to his companion, he inquired, "My dear Yvette, aren't you joining them?" "This isn't the right moment for me to make an appearance," Yvantemon replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Jabba is already aware of our progress here and is quite pleased. You know the benefits of making Jabba happy." He then added, "I'll be heading to the planet of Tatooine soon. There's been a slight change there. Once the situation with Celia is resolved, come find me on Tatooine. If you can address the issue there, Jabba is ready to offer you true friendship, ensuring no one in the galaxy would dare harm you. Without another word, he walked away. Orlov took another puff of his cigar and turned back to the speech. Now, let's march to Tikal City, to our future. Go! Dole's voice echoed. The formidable procession began its journey along the gravel road toward Celia's capital. Leading the march were 4 heavily armed squads, each centered around a holographic projector displaying Elder Dole's speech on loop. Following closely was the Pathfinder-class attack vehicle, with Elder Dole standing on its roof. The vehicle's turret had been transformed into a podium, surrounded by flowers. Dole tested the microphone, then waved confidently to the crowd. Behind him marched 5,000 believers of the tech movement, each armed with Type 21 assault rifles loaded with non-lethal rubber bullets. However, for safety, each person also carried 2 magazines filled with full-power armor-piercing rounds. A massive crowd of over 70,000 people followed, forming an unstoppable force as they moved toward their future. Volume 2, Chapter 215, Civil War Erupts. The parade, a formidable force, marched on, unstoppable. Advocates of the technological revolution, chanting slogans advocating for progress and the breaking of old barriers, stormed through every village in their path. They brought destruction in their wake, targeting anything they deemed primitive or regressive, leaving behind only the bewildering remnants of their advanced gadgets. In one such village, a Syrian child wept at the threshold of her ravaged home, clutching a holographic player that had been thrust into her hands. Moments before, the marchers had burst into her home, rendering her parents unconscious, demolishing their belongings, and shattering the jars of juice they had painstakingly prepared over months. They left behind their incomprehensible technology and moved on. The local sheriff, overwhelmed by the sheer number of assailants, found it impossible to repel the parade. The small villages, with their modest security forces, stood no chance against the nearly 100,000-strong technological movement. Along the way, the movement's ranks swelled as many young people, enticed by the allure of technology, joined its cause. The Celia planet's Presbyterian leadership dispatched an army of 4,000 to halt the advance of the technological enthusiasts. However, Elder Dole, leading the charge from his LAV attack vehicle, rallied his followers with cries of, "For the future, for technology, for civilization." His conviction was that they were an unstoppable force, a sentiment that seemed to ring true as the Presbyterian army hesitated to engage civilians and was quickly overrun. The marchers seized weapons and mounts from the army, their morale soaring. In a bold move, the marchers captured hundreds of soldiers, parading them at the forefront with labels of ignorance and backwardness as symbols of the end of an era. This act of defiance incited the full wrath of the Celia Planet Presbyterian Church, which mobilized a formidable force of 100,000 soldiers and issued an ultimatum to Elder Dole: disband the parade and submit to judgment. Despite the overwhelming odds, Elder Dole refused to back down. His response was to prepare his 5,000-strong force for battle. When the Presbyterian army attempted a cautious attack, they were met with a barrage from the techno movement's assault rifles, although, in a show of restraint, rubber bullets were used. Elder Dole, undeterred, issued his own ultimatum, warning of lethal retaliation in future confrontations. The Presbyterian army reorganized, positioning the Yalix cavalry on the flanks and forming a shield wall at the front. The Yalix, large carnivorous birds used as mounts, akin to chocobos, were a common sight on Celia, serving as a primary means of transportation. As the second battle loomed, the Presbyterian Church was determined to make a decisive strike. The 100,000-strong army launched a full-scale assault, with the Yalix cavalry attempting to outflank the enemy. However, they were met with a relentless hail of bullets. The 5,000 assault rifles of the techno movement unleashed a torrent of fire, cutting down the advancing cavalry. Yet, despite the onslaught, the brave Celia warriors pressed forward, their cries echoing across the battlefield. Amidst the chaos of battle, the terrifying advance of the Saria Presbyterian Church's forces had initially struck fear into the hearts of the makeshift army of the technology movement. These soldiers, recently civilians, had been hastily assembled due to their loyalty and fanaticism towards the technological cause, lacking any formal military training and resembling more of a disorganized mob than a structured army. In a desperate and costly charge, a Yalix cavalry unit, after suffering severe losses with 70% of its members fallen, managed to break through to the front lines of the technology movement's army. Their ferocious assault inflicted significant casualties, but their victory was short-lived as the technical movement's reinforcements quickly overwhelmed and annihilated them. The battlefield was a grim sight, strewn with the bodies of Saria soldiers and the giant birds known as Yalix, the air thick with the stench of blood. As the cavalry engaged the technology movement's forces, the main force of the Syria Presbyterian Church pressed forward, unleashing a devastating volley of arrows that claimed the lives of hundreds. Panic began to spread through the ranks of the technology movement's army, facing the overwhelming pressure of an advancing force numbering in the hundreds of thousands. Just as Elder Dole contemplated a retreat in the face of this unstoppable onslaught, a roar erupted from the rear of his forces. Down with the corrupt Presbyterian! Fight for Celia's future! Kill! The rallying cries of tens of thousands, armed with Type 21 assault rifles, surged forward in a frenzied charge. To Elder Dole's astonishment, a convoy of hovering trucks loaded with weapons and ammunition had appeared behind his lines, with the insurgents eagerly arming themselves. Driving one of the trucks, Vitaly Olov, with Yuri sitting beside him, greeted Elder Dole with a triumphant laugh. "Ha ha ha! Consider this Santa's gift," Yuri exclaimed. Overwhelmed, Elder Dole barely managed to stammer out a response. They. Yuri Olov simply smiled. "Oh, it's fine. The weapons I've provided are straightforward to use. Just point and shoot. Safety? Don't worry. I've taken care of that." Armed with assault rifles, the ragtag army of the technology movement charged at the Presbyterian forces. Despite their lack of training, which led to chaotic gunfire and numerous accidents among their own ranks, their zeal was undiminished. As they closed in and opened fire, the sight of the formidable Presbyterian soldiers falling to their bullets and the once impenetrable wooden shields shattering only fueled their frenzy further. Attachment 1 of the Easter Egg Chapter, Syria and Yalix the Big Bird. Vol 2, Chapter 216, Killing and Conscience. The sound of gunfire was relentless, echoing like a thunderous storm as bullets rained down mercilessly. Large shields shattered, bodies were pierced, and a macabre rain of blood painted the battlefield. The primitive armaments of spears and shields stood no chance against the devastating power of modern firearms, even when wielded by civilians with no combat training. This was a chaotic battle, where the disciplined ranks of the Celia Planet Presbyterian Army were scattered by the unyielding hail of bullets, leaving only isolated fighters to fend for themselves. Similarly, the armed civilians, fueled by desperation and rage, abandoned any semblance of strategy, charging forward and firing wildly. In this new age of warfare, the horror of close combat, of seeing the enemy's eyes before you, feeling their blood splash on your face, hearing the gruesome sounds of flesh and bone being torn apart, was absent. All that was required was to pull the trigger and watch as the enemy fell in droves, even the most robust shields unable to withstand the onslaught. Yuri Orlov reveled in this grim spectacle. He handed a Type 21 assault rifle to a young boy, barely 15, and enthusiastically instructed him on its use. "Okay, boy, listen to me. This is the muzzle, this is the trigger, and this is the butt. Aim at the enemy, brace the butt against your shoulder, and pull the trigger." "Got it?" He quickly corrected the boy when he mistakenly aimed the rifle at a friend, then sent him off to battle with a cheer for the bright future of the Celia planet. Turning to a woman in her 50s, Yuri handed her a grenade, offering an alternative for those unable to handle the recoil of a gun. "If the gun's too much, use this. Pull the pin and throw it, then duck for cover. Got it? For Celia, for our future. Yay!" With these words, he pushed her towards the fray. Vitaly Olov, watching from a distance, was pale and shaken. "They're just children and elderly," he stammered. Yuri responded with a cold smile. "The moment they took up arms, they ceased to be just children and elderly. They became my clients." "No, this is wrong. This isn't what we envisioned. In Tatooine, we sold weapons to criminals who fought mercenaries. But this, Celia is different," Vitaly protested, gripping Yuri's arm. Yuri shrugged off the concern with a smirk. "What's the difference? I sold guns for 400 credits each on Tatooine. Here, I give a discount. 300 credits. That's the only difference. A woman, covered in blood that wasn't her own, returned from the front lines, laughing maniacally for more weapons. It was a chilling reminder of the primal, bloodthirsty nature inherent in all beings, exacerbated by the one-sided slaughter. Vitali, desperate to make her see reason, grabbed her hand. Do you realize what you're doing? You're killing. Your hands were meant to hold your child, not pull a trigger. Go away, she snapped, her response a stark testament to the depths of despair and violence that had consumed the hearts of those fighting for their survival on Celia. The woman forcefully pushed Vitali to the ground, swiftly grabbed a brand-new assault rifle from a B-1 combat robot, affectionately kissed the robot's head, and charged into the battlefield. Vitali, overwhelmed with confusion and despair, sat on the ground, cradling his head in his hands. Why is this happening? He lamented. Yuri crouched beside him, placed a cigar between his lips, and spoke softly. I've always said, people are inherently like this, which is why I chose to deal in weapons instead of something innocuous like lollipops. But you must understand, they sought me out. I didn't advertise or send out salesmen. They knew I had what they wanted, and they came to me. Remember what we were originally tasked with? Procuring some ingredients for Yvonne. But now, look at where we are. But they're civilians, Yuri. Civilians! Vitali erupted in anger, suddenly standing and shoving Yuri away. He intended to confront Elder Dole Fermi, but halted in his tracks, at the sight of the Elder's frenzied expression, a wave of despair washing over him. Listen to me, Vitali. They're not even. Yuri attempted to explain. Don't. Just don't, Vitali interrupted, pointing accusingly at Yuri as if he were a stranger. He then distanced himself, mounted a hoverbike, and sped away. After 2 grueling hours, the battle concluded, leaving the battlefield in utter disarray. The Presbyterian armies, in a chaotic retreat, left behind at least half of their forces as casualties. In just 2 hours, more than 50,000 had fallen. This wasn't a battle. It was a one-sided slaughter, a massacre where civilians, armed with 5.56mm caliber assault rifles, capable of firing 300 rounds per minute and penetrating 10mm steel plates, decimated an army. The Presbyterian soldiers' armor and shields were as effective as paper against the modern firepower. Elder Dole, driven to madness by the victory, saw it as the dawn of a new era. This battle made it clear that the Elders could not muster a significant force in time to counter the threat of modern weaponry without incurring massive casualties. Leaving 1,000 of his people to tend to the wounded, he led a triumphant march toward Takaf, the capital of Syria. The upcoming Elders' meeting would mark the beginning of his ascent to power, setting the stage for his son to become the great Elder of the planet Celia, a position of unparalleled influence. Vol 2, Chapter 217, The Fruit of Victory. Yuri Orlov chose not to accompany Elder Dole. The recent incident involving Vitali had significantly dampened his spirits. Surrounded by a few B-1 robots, he wandered aimlessly through the aftermath of the battlefield. The ground was littered with bullets and assault rifles, both spent and unused, scattered everywhere like refuse. With each step, it was impossible not to tread on several firearms. Despite the grim scene, the remaining members of the technical movement were busy tending to the wounded. Corpses were strewn across the battlefield, yet their spirits remained undeterred. As Yuri passed by, they greeted him with smiles and gratitude. Hello, Mr. Santa. Thank you, Santa. You've given us a great future, Mr. Santa. Yuri managed only a stiff smile in response as he continued towards the heart of the battlefield. On the opposing side, the corpses of the Presbyterian soldiers had amassed into a veritable mountain, nearly forming a barrier 50 meters from the technical movement's front line. Their bravery was undeniable. It was a military marvel that they had managed to hold out until half of their number had fallen. Yet the technological disparity was a gap too vast to bridge. The technical movement side was no less harrowing, with an estimated 7,000 to 8,000 casualties. The wounded who had yet to receive aid moaned amidst the piles of bodies, the air thick with the mingling scents of blood and gunpowder. Among the fallen, Yuri noticed the peasant woman who had bravely returned to request a second weapon. She now lay motionless, a long feathered arrow piercing her chest from behind, her blood soaking the ground. Her eyes were wide open, frozen in an expression of agony. The slow, painful death inflicted by an arrow was a cruel fate. With a heavy heart, Yuri knelt beside her, gently closing her eyes as he whispered, "Thank you for fighting." He refrained from offering words of peace, understanding all too well that neither she nor he were destined for heaven. Rising to his feet, Yuri's gaze hardened with resolve. Turning to the T-800 bodyguard beside him, he commanded, "Prepare a hoverbike. We're heading to Tekaf City. It's time I claimed the fruit of this victory." 2 days later, in Tekaf City, the capital of planet Celia, the atmosphere within the stone-domed hall of the Presbyterian Church was tense. For thousands of years, this solemn hall had served as the meeting place for the Presbyterian Church, the highest authority on Celia. Now, however, it was enveloped in a chilling aura. Outside, tens of thousands of technology movement fanatics encircled the hall, their fervor palpable. They brandished holographic projections and LED signs, chanting Elder Dole's name with zeal. Some were still smeared with the blood of their recent battles. The Presbyterian Guard, clad in full-body armor and armed with heavy swords and large shields, stood their ground, albeit with trembling hands. The news of their adversaries' formidable weaponry had reached them. They knew they stood little chance against the technological might of the mob. Elder Dole Fermi Bonmi alighted from Enlav and approached the hall's entrance. The guards, their swords raised in a feeble attempt to bar his way, were easily brushed aside by Dole, his confidence bolstered by the recent victory. Stepping into the hall alone, he was met with the silent gaze of the 15 elders seated on a raised platform. Without hesitation, Dole pointed to the empty 16th seat and declared, "This position was once mine, but now I am ashamed to claim it, ashamed to count myself among you. You fail to grasp the trajectory of civilization's progress, blind to the constant evolution of the Milky Way. All you see is the power beneath your feet, oblivious to the broader horizon that awaits us. Your position is at stake. You're well aware that any change could mean this seat no longer belongs to you." An elder exclaimed, his voice filled with conviction. "Nonsense. Our prohibition on the development of science and technology is for the betterment of our people. Have you not seen the industrialized, polluted cities of the Galactic Republic, the skies shrouded in black clouds, the air thick with pungency, the rivers reeking of decay? Is that what you desire? Those residing on the so-called advanced planets within the Republic yearn for a pristine natural environment." Another elder retorted vehemently. "The essence of civilization's growth lies in exploration, delving into nature's mysteries and the universe's enigmas. The more we uncover, the more refined our development. Yet why strip our civilization of its right to explore?" Elder Dole argued with eloquence, having come prepared for this debate. "Moreover, let's not dwell on outdated examples of steam and coal industries. The Galactic Republic has evolved beyond those destructive phases, thanks to its development and might. By joining the Republic, we can bypass those environmentally harmful stages and leap directly into a more advanced civilization." "You spout nothing but nonsense," the current Great Elder snapped back. Elder Dole, undeterred, continued, "Are you familiar with nuclear fusion? I suppose not. It's a process that can effortlessly power our entire planet, with the only byproduct being clean water, hardly a waste. Clean, potent, a bright future awaits us, yet you reject this change for personal gain? Such folly. In the end, you're merely seeking to place yourself as the Great Elder. Any talk of a bright future is merely a pretense," the Great Elder accused sharply. Elder Dole sneered. "Assuming the responsibility to lead Celia Planet towards progress is my duty." His blunt admission caused a stir among the elders. Yet Elder Dole pressed on. "But my intentions are not for personal gain. I am willing to relinquish the Great Elder position to my son. He possesses the enlightenment and wisdom required for the role. Meanwhile, I am prepared to join the Galactic Republic's assembly to advocate for our planet's interests from another platform." "Your ambitions are clear. This is nothing short of a power grab," an elder accused, standing up in outrage and pointing accusingly at Dole. "Can you not see the truth?" Elder Dole replied coolly, his gaze piercing. The Great Elder's face paled, his body trembling as he pointed at Dole, unable to articulate a response before he slumped back into his seat. Since there are no objections, let us proceed with the election. The sole candidate for the Great Elder is my son. Dole began, smugly anticipating his victory. However, his declaration was interrupted by a resounding objection. The heavy doors of the council hall swung open, revealing a tall figure striding in. To everyone's surprise, it was none other than Ki-Adi-Mundi, a member of the Jedi Order's 12 highest councils. Attachment 1 of the Easter Egg Chapter, Jedi Master Ki-Adi-Mundi. Vol 2, Chapter 218, A Stern Confrontation. The First Elder was taken aback upon seeing the newcomer. He stood up, his voice echoing through the hall. "Master Mandy, have you returned?" Jedi Master Ki-Adi-Mundi, with a nod, stepped into the Presbyterian hall. Towering over 2 meters tall, his formidable presence was accentuated by a well-groomed beard. He acknowledged the elder with a slight nod before fixing his gaze on Elder Dole, Erfermi Bonmi, without uttering a word. Elder Dole's confidence visibly faltered under Master Mandy's scrutiny, and he retreated to the side, sweating profusely. Ki-Adi-Mundi was revered on the planet Seria, known for his integrity, kindness, bravery, and wisdom. Having been a part of the Jedi Order for over 50 years, he had flourished under Master Yoda's guidance to become an esteemed Jedi Master. Though not officially a member of the Supreme Council of the 12 Jedi Knights, he was the principal alternate, often representing Master Micah Giet in meetings. His reputation and skill were unparalleled, even within the Jedi Order, making his status almost legendary, especially on the remote planet of Celia. Elder Dole might have previously boasted about defeating the 100,000-strong army of the Presbyterian Council and pressured them into naming his son as the successor, but Master Mundy's arrival rendered all his efforts moot. Master Mundy was a fervent advocate for preserving Celia's original state, which put him at odds with Elder Dole's ambitions. After a tense 5 minutes, Ki-Adi-Mundi finally broke the silence. "Whom do you represent here?" he inquired. "I represent the people of planet Celia. We must align with the Galactic Republic to ensure a better life for our citizens," Elder Dole proclaimed, trying to match Master Mundy's intensity. "Align with the Galactic Republic? So, you claim to represent their interests." Master Mundy pressed further. "Isn't that obvious?" Elder Dole retorted, somewhat defiantly. Master Mundy's expression hardened. "No, you represent Jabba the Hutt, the notorious gangster of the galaxy." His accusation was precise and damning. Elder Dole staggered back, attempting to defend himself. "No, that's not true. My intention is to have Celia join the Galactic Republic. I don't recall the Galactic Republic's foreign policy involving arms sales, inciting civil wars, and causing the suffering of tens of thousands." Master Mundy's voice boomed, the air vibrating with the force of his conviction. "You owe us an explanation today. It's the Great Elder's fault for being obstinate. If only he had accepted my proposal." Elder Dole tried to argue. "Nonsense." Master Mundy's shout caused Elder Dole to collapse to the ground in fear. At that moment, 2 figures entered the hall. Dressed in simple cloth robes with lightsaber hilts at their waists, they were Jedi Knights Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi, both acquaintances of Tang Xiao. Obi-Wan was holding a man who was none other than Bronn, the Republic's representative. Bronn's complexion was ashen, and he trembled, realizing that Master Mundy's arrival signified the end of his schemes. "Why don't we let this Mr. Representative explain where he obtained the weapons?" Qui-Gon Jinn suggested with a sly smile. "You have been relieved of your duties and no longer represent the Galactic Republic on Celia," Master Mundy stated calmly. Bronn, sitting on the ground, head bowed, admitted, "Jabba, he couldn't have acquired so many weapons so quickly." "Then enlighten us. Who is the supplier?" Master Mundy demanded an answer, his voice steady yet filled with an unspoken threat. Master Mundy's voice boomed with authority as he confronted Bloom, who appeared defeated, his head hung low, ceasing to speak. Master Mundy fought against the impulse to use the Force to compel Bloom to talk, adhering to the Jedi Order's strictures against such actions. He knew that employing the Force in this manner would not resolve the situation, but would instead deepen the common people's fear and alienation toward the Jedi. Observing Bloom's demeanor, Dole Fermi Bonmi's approach softened slightly, though his resolve remained firm. Planet Celia will join the Galactic Republic, regardless of the process. That is my commitment to the Republic, he declared with unwavering conviction. As for the source of the weapons, that is irrelevant to you. Thousands have died because of your actions, and you dare say it doesn't matter? Master Mundi retorted, visibly angered. I have recordings of the entire battle. My forces initially used non-lethal rubber bullets. It was the elders who refused to negotiate and resorted to lethal force first. You have no grounds to accuse me, Elder Dole countered sharply, his logic catching Master Mundi off guard. The standoff continued until Qui-Gon Jinn approached Master Mundi and quietly suggested, Obi-Wan and I will pursue the arms dealer. We'll leave you to manage the situation here. Thank you, Master Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Ki-Adi-Mundi acknowledged, understanding that this was the best course of action under the circumstances. With no direct evidence linking Elder Dole to collusion with the arms dealer and the Elder Council being the first to use lethal force, Master Mundi found himself unable to take immediate action against Elder Dole. Meanwhile, Yuri Orlov, having just arrived in Tikov, sensed something amiss. He signaled to his T-850 bodyguards, "Get out of the car, something's not right here." Together, they discreetly observed the scene outside the Presbyterian Hall. The once vocal protesters of the technology movement were now silent, their LED signs and holographic projections turned off, their enthusiasm dampened as if hit by a sudden frost. Conversely, the Presbyterian guards, intimidated by the assault rifles wielded by the technical movement, hesitated to make a move. Damn! Something's definitely happened, Yuri muttered to himself, attempting to contact Braun and Elder Dole, but to no avail. At that moment, he noticed two figures in coarse cloth robes approaching him directly, their intentions unclear. Vol 2, Chapter 219, You Are Under Arrest. Yuri Orlov couldn't help but feel a surge of panic as he noticed two figures in coarse cloth robes approaching him. Despite his efforts to remain hidden in the shadows, it seemed they had known his location all along. His mind raced with thoughts of the Jedi Knights, a topic Tang Xiao had emphasized during their discussions about the Galactic Republic. To his dismay, the approaching figures were none other than Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice, Obi-Wan Kenobi, both of whom he recognized from surveillance footage aboard the Glory Mothership. Without a second thought, Yuri shouted, "Run!" and bolted, leaving behind the two T-850s. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, determined to catch him, called out, "Stop! Don't run!" In a fit of defiance, Yuri yelled back, "Block them for me." The T-850 bodyguards immediately sprang into action, pulling grenades from their belts and hurling them towards their pursuers. The grenades exploded with a deafening boom, demolishing the fragile structures nearby and sending dust billowing into the air. Thankfully, the local residents had already evacuated due to the ongoing turmoil, preventing any civilian casualties. Despite the chaos, the Jedi Knights emerged unscathed from the explosion. "Obi-Wan, those are two robots. Take them down," Qui-Gon commanded, igniting his lightsaber with a flick of his wrist. The green plasma blade hummed to life as he charged towards one of the T-850s. Obi-Wan, too, activated his blue lightsaber and with a wave of his hand cleared the dust cloud, revealing the imposing figure of a T-850. The robot, undeterred, opened fire with a Type 21 assault rifle. Anticipating the attack, Obi-Wan used the Force to stop the bullets in midair, rendering them harmless. With a swift motion, he redirected the bullets back at the T-850, puncturing its synthetic skin and exposing the metallic skeleton beneath. "Bionic robots? This is a violation of the law," Obi-Wan stated gravely. As the T-850 attempted to reload, Obi-Wan swiftly moved in, slicing the assault rifle in half with his lightsaber. The T-850 retaliated with a powerful punch, but Obi-Wan dodged, narrowly avoiding the blow that shattered a nearby wall. "Such strength," Obi-Wan remarked, though he didn't let it distract him. With precise movements, he disarmed the T-850, severing its arm and then delivering a fatal blow to its chest. The robot collapsed, defeated. Just as Obi-Wan was about to catch his breath, Qui-Gon's warning cry alerted him to another imminent threat. Dodging just in time, he avoided a crushing blow from the second T-850. "Never underestimate your opponent, Obi-Wan," Qui-Gon advised, skillfully evading the robot's attacks. With a series of swift strikes, he disabled the T-850, severing its limbs before decapitating it with a final, elegant slash. Observing the fallen T-850, Obi-Wan noticed a significant gash in its chest that had spared its core systems. He solemnly nodded, then delivered a decisive strike, bisecting the robot. Upon closer inspection, he discovered two sinister-looking metal boxes concealed within the T-850's armor. With a sense of urgency, he destroyed them with his lightsaber, ensuring they could no longer pose a threat. As the dust settled, the sounds of battle faded, leaving only the aftermath of their confrontation. The Jedi Knights stood ready, vigilant for any further dangers that might emerge from the shadows. The roar of the engine echoed from the front, and Yuri Orlov had already made a swift escape on his hoverbike. Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi exchanged a quick glance, sheathing their lightsabers before pursuing him. They, too, had arrived on hoverbikes and now sped after Yuri with determination. Despite his efforts, Yuri found it impossible to shake off the relentless pursuit of the two Jedi Knights. Panic set in, and he frantically dialed every contact he could think of on his communicator. "Braun, come and save!" "Damn it," he cursed as the call went unanswered. "Elder Dole, I'm in trouble. Damn! His frustration grew as his pleas for help were met with silence. In desperation, he reached out to Yvette Meng, a loyal ally. To his surprise, the call connected, and Yuri blurted out, "Yvette, the situation has taken a dire turn. The Jedi Knights are here. Damn it, the Jedi are after me. You need to come and save me now." Yvette Meng responded with a calm, albeit dull, tone. "No one dares to confront the Jedi Knights head-on, Yuri. Your best course of action is to leave Celia as quickly as possible. I'll figure out a way to help you from there." "Crap, I need to find a way off Celia, and I'm counting on you," Yuri exclaimed, frustration evident in his voice. "Stay safe, Yuri. Even if you're captured, I'll do what I can to help. After all, we're allies," Yvette assured him, demonstrating his loyalty and pragmatism. Yuri considered reaching out to Tang Xiao, but ultimately decided against it, not wanting to drag his friend into the mess. His mind raced through various scenarios, contemplating his next move should he be captured. Taking a deep breath, he then contacted his brother, Vitaly Orlov. After several rings, a weary voice answered, "What do you need, brother?" Yuri tried to keep his voice steady as he spoke. "Listen, Vitaly, we can discuss our personal issues later. Right now, you need to leave Celia. Immediately. Do it now." Sensing the urgency, Vitaly quickly inquired, "What's happened to you?" "I'm being hunted by the Jedi. I don't think I can escape. Get out of here as fast as you can and then figure out a way to save me," Yuri pleaded. "Don't worry, I'll get the spaceship and come for you right away," Vitaly responded, ready to spring into action. "No, if you come here, you won't be able to escape either," Yuri exclaimed, trying to deter his brother. "They won't kill me. You still have time. Just don't act rashly and seek help from someone else." After a moment of silence, Vitaly made his decision. "I understand, Yuri. Just wait. I'll find a way to save you. I swear, I'll come for you. Brothers in arms." "Brothers in arms, my brother," Yuri echoed before ending the call and discarding the communicator. It was then that Yuri realized the chase had taken a turn. Only Qui-Gon Jinn was behind him now, with Obi-Wan nowhere in sight. Suddenly, a hoverbike descended from the adjacent mountain, landing directly in front of him. Obi-Wan Kenobi extended his hand, and Yuri felt the speed of his hoverbike plummet. Caught off guard by the sudden deceleration, he screamed as he was ejected from the bike, tumbling across the ground before coming to a halt at the feet of Obi-Wan. A blue lightsaber pointed at his chest, and Obi-Wan's voice rang out, "You've been arrested, sir, in the name of the Jedi Order." Vol 2, Chapter 220, Seniority in the Family. Yuri Orlov was arrested by the Jedi Knights. When Tang Xiao received the news, he was aboard the Darth Plagueis spaceship. "What happened?" Darth Plagueis inquired, turning to face him. "One of my arms dealers was apprehended by a Jedi Knight. It's not a significant issue," Tang Xiao responded, his tone casual. "If it's not a significant issue, then cut ties when necessary. If needed, ensure silence. Remember, do not bring trouble to Coruscant over this. You have an elder brother in Coruscant. If he learns of your existence, you might not live to see tomorrow," Darth Plagueis advised with a chilling smile. "And don't expect me to save you." "I'll handle it, my lord," Tang Xiao assured, bowing his head. Even without Plagueis' reminder, Tang Xiao understood that Darth Sidious, also known as Sheev Palpatine, would never tolerate the existence of a junior brother in the galaxy. However, Darth Plagueis's words made Tang Xiao reflect on his situation. He realized that he indeed was Darth Sidious's junior brother, a realization that amused him greatly. He thought about the future, where Darth Sidious would take Dooku as his apprentice. This meant Dooku would have to address him respectfully due to their familial ties. The thought of the future Anakin Skywalker, the protagonist of Star Wars, having to refer to him in a similar respectful manner brought a smile to Tang Xiao's face. The complexity and humor of these relationships delighted him. After indulging in these thoughts for a while, Tang Xiao contacted Baron Helmut Zemo. Yuri was captured by the Jedi Knights. Find a way to deal with it. Contact Vitali for the details. Understood. I'll make the necessary arrangements, Baron Zemo replied, not delving into further questions. Tang Xiao then reached out to an old contact, Village Special. Hey manager, long time no see, miss me? Munte's cheerful voice came through, indicating he was in high spirits. Yuri's been caught. Try to save him, Tang Xiao stated directly. Yuri? Damn, I knew his character would get him in trouble sooner or later. All right, I'm on it. Villager agreed without a second thought. Meanwhile, Das Pop Regis, despite his harsh words, was actively using his intelligence network to uncover the root of the problem. I was too hasty, my lord, Tang Xiao admitted, acknowledging his mistake. Humph, it's fine. The incident you caused on planet Celia actually served my plans well. Don't worry, I'll protect you. No matter how the Jedi Order investigates, they won't trace it back to you. The rest is up to you, Darth Plagueis concluded, sending a few messages on his communicator. Tang Xiao expressed his gratitude. Thank you, Your Highness. On Coruscant, in the Administrative District's Dawn Planet office, Francis Underwood ended a communication call and muttered, "This idiot! Damn it!" "What's wrong, dear?" Claire Underwood approached, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Yuri's been captured, and by a Jedi Knight, no less!" Francis exclaimed, massaging his forehead. "This complicates things. If he had been caught by the sheriff, it would have been manageable, but a Jedi Knight? We have no influence over the Jedi." "Why not ask Palpatine for help? He seems to have connections with the Jedi," Claire suggested. "I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Absolutely not. We must be cautious in how we position ourselves," Francis firmly replied, highlighting the delicate nature of their situation. "How many times have I said it? Position, position, position. The most foolish illusion in politics is believing you wield power simply because you're close to it," Francis stated emphatically. "Palpatine is a potential adversary. His current overtures towards us don't signify he sees us as equals. Fail to recognize this, and he'll outmaneuver and crush us without hesitation." "So, what's our move?" came the inquiry. "We must present our case at the Republic's court. Unfortunately, it seems Yuri will have to stand trial this time. My only hope is that the incident doesn't escalate too much in the eyes of the Jedi Knights," Francis replied. He then stood, meticulously donned his suit, fastened each button with care, and swiftly departed. On the planet Tatooine, at the outskirts of Mos Eisley, lay Jabba's palace, a stark contrast to the surrounding desolate desert and slum-like cities. Within its walls, an oasis thrived. Water was perpetually misted, cooling and moistening the air. The palace buzzed with activity. Jabba's subordinates and bounty hunters mingled, indulging in an array of foods and drinks. The air was thick with the scent of wine, which even permeated the lavish fabric decorations adorning the ceiling. Ivante Mona, with her imposing stature, made her way into the heart of the palace. There, atop a grand throne on a raised platform, sat Jabba, a massive slug-like creature, several meters in length, with coarse skin, a barely there nose, and a wide mouth from which a foul odor emanated. Below the stone platform, several Twi'lek dancers, chained and visibly exhausted, contorted their bodies in a desperate attempt to garner favor from their master. Jabba was a formidable figure in the galaxy, his influence extending across countless illegal ventures, from spice trafficking and arms dealing to kidnapping and murder. His reach spanned the outer rim of the galaxy, and his wealth was immense. With a mere command, he could mobilize legions of bounty hunters. Such was his power that he had single-handedly vanquished another Hutt Ghidorah from Tatooine, or so Jabba believed. Approaching Jabba, Ivante Mona spoke in Hutt. My arms dealer on planet Celia has been apprehended by the Jedi Knights. Is there any way I can assist you, my friend? Jabba inquired slowly. The situation on Celia is dire. The beacon of our operation there is at risk of being extinguished. This is troubling news indeed. Jedi Master Ki-Adi-Mundi has taken a personal interest in the matter, advocating for the planet's original ecology. His involvement likely spells doom for our technological endeavors there, Ivante Mona explained. Jabba pondered for a moment, his eyes closed, then responded. Ki-Adi-Mundi, I recall he has a daughter residing on Cilia. With a wave of his hand, several bounty hunters approached. Jabba commanded, bring his daughter to me.